Here we go.
All right, welcome back. It's been 3 weeks, I
It's
think.
been a long time.
We had two longer books,
We
which
were,
I think always plays a factor. Like any of these 22-hour audiobooks, especially if it's like not a quick read, it's gonna be 3 weeks.
yeah, I wanted to blame you
Yeah.
for reading slow, but I finished one book today and then the other book 2 days ago, so I have to take some of the blame myself.
Yeah, I think it's good too. Like, I could have maybe got it done a little bit faster, but also it's like got a lost dog early in the pod here. Um, I think sometimes like you don't want to rush it just in terms of like getting it done just to get it done. Like you really got to be able to, especially like Creature and Jekyll. That's not one you can just crank up to 2 times audio speed and be like, I got it.
I This week I tried at 1.2 and it was like hurting my brain.
Yeah, I like always hear, especially like at the gym, I'll see like these old guys like they play their audiobooks like not through their headphones while they get changed, and it's just like the speed at which they listen. It's like I don't know how that's enjoyable, especially for like a fiction book.
No, like what's the point of that?
Like nonfiction, at least it's like, okay, I'm taking in the information. I don't need to hear it in a specific way. Love that from you. I was thinking about that. But yeah, I think like if I was reading a fiction like sci-fi, like Dark Matters, like you need to hear that at the speed they want you to hear it.
I think so, because I don't know, it's just too much. It's my
Like
brain can't process it that fast, and
yeah.
it's like I'll tune out
And
sometimes
and if
during
there's like
books.
comedic undertones, it's like you need to hear it,
Yeah,
like especially if it's like intentionally supposed to be funny or something.
right. Yeah.
Like could you imagine like the Jason scene in Dark Matters just read at like 2x speed?
Oh my
Like
God,
that was
that
hilarious.
scene was so bad.
I don't know if it would have even
Regardless,
been funny, at that type of speed.
yeah,
You might not have even caught how ridiculous it was.
we have two new books today. One of the books is probably the scariest, darkest thing I've ever read in my life,
In cold
and in
blood.
the other one, a family of four got
That
should
is really well said. Yeah.
should we start with the clutters?
So I think we start with the clutters, and
Because I think
then
the other one,
it's going to require
yeah,
more, and we can kind of cruise through it a little bit. So first, I guess elephant in the room, we don't have a guest again.
oh, true,
We
true. We
we
skipped
actually
attendance.
we got a book suggestion was In Cold Blood was a Vin Man.
Okay, I was gonna
Yeah.
ask how that book came into our list because it's
So
very different
yeah, so he
than our
said it's
normal.
like one of the most famous like nonfiction thrillers type books.
Yeah, so it's a true story,
Yeah,
but it's a story. So it's like it almost reads like fiction, but
it
it's
does.
all based on a true story.
Yeah. And then the other book, I think you added
Yes.
Creature from Jekyll Island. Both did audio on that. I did a mix of audio and reading for the other one.
Okay. I did all like Kindle
Okay,
for Cold Blood.
that must have been tough. I think I did the first like 100 pages book, and then I was like, I can't do this anymore. Switch to audio, and then our audio ran out. Fortunately, I still had the book, so then I had to do the
Ah,
last like 100
I
pages
see.
book.
Wait, sorry. What are your thoughts on? We have to start with Cold Blood.
Cold Blood.
What are your thoughts? I feel like you have a strong opinion waiting to come
Yeah,
out.
so I hated it. I actually,
Wow.
I hated the beginning. Like I hated what you were
Wow.
saying with like I wanted it to be like a mystery. It wasn't.
Right.
Like right away, it's just like it'd be their last night alive, and they'd be murdered by these two guys that were
They
just
dropped that
celebrating.
in there,
Yeah,
like page 5.
yes. I actually thought the last like 100 or so pages were probably the best part of the book, like the ending, and it kind of had nothing to do with the murder anymore. Like it had more to do with like how they treated criminals in like the 1960s that were on like death row, and like I thought that stuff was actually interesting.
Yeah, the death row stories were good because you heard what the other people did and you
Yes,
kind of heard their backstory.
yes.
So then you got like stories about like 4 or 5 different like murders, which
Yeah. And
uh,
even like the history of death row and how,
mhm,
they took it away from, like a bunch of states, and then they brought it back because like there
mhm.
was a couple of people that did just like something so heinous. They were like, we got to kill this guy.
I so I was excited about it diving in
Yeah.
because I was like, this is different. It's like this could be like really like nail biter, page turner.
Yes.
Like you don't want to put it down.
Yeah.
I actually like the beginning,
Okay.
but I like just hearing the stories about like the Clutters in their
Yeah.
daily life. Like
Okay.
nothing to do with the murders.
Yeah.
When he was saying like, oh, Nancy is teaching like little Jolene how to cook a cherry pie,
Yeah.
I was locked in. I
Yeah.
was like, I want to see what happens.
See, that's the part that I didn't like.
I mean, it was very short, but
And
I was
just
like, I kind of just wish I was hearing more about the family.
yeah, I thought he tried to do too much, the writer, just in terms of um like how it was written. It would just be like, he was driving around like a dry wheat through a
Mm,
grazing bunch of words I don't know field, and you'd just be like,
like heavy descriptions.
yeah, like too much. Where it's
Yeah,
just like,
for sure.
especially on things that didn't necessarily need it.
Hmm.
Um, but overall, I just think it was such an old book. So it was like 1950s,
Oh, really?
1960s.
I think the murder was 1960 or like late
I think
50s.
that's when they were killed was 1960, right? I think the murder
Yeah,
was like 19. Oh, maybe not. Wait, 40. Was it 40 something?
I thought it was like late 50s, 1960.
Okay.
I thought.
And then the book I think was right after that. I mean, it
Oh,
looked
okay.
old. It felt old. Like
Oh, hard copy is pretty cool from
it
the book,
is.
and
Like
I'll give
it
you get a couple
was.
of bonus points for that.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Like it was one of those books where you open it up, and you know how some books are like fighting you to
Yep.
open it up. This one
Oh,
was open
you
right
can
up.
just place
Yeah.
it down. You know, not gonna
Like
lose your page.
yeah, which
That's
was nice.
so then he like flipped very quickly into like, hey, here's his family. They're like the picture perfect all American family.
Yeah.
Everyone kind of liked and respected them. And then at the end of like each description, he was kind of like, but that was their last time they'd be doing
Yes.
this, and
Yeah.
that was their last time they'd go to sleep.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah. Little did they know.
Little did they know. So he put in all these things, and then he kind of flipped like right to the murderers.
He
So there
does.
was no secret of like who did it. It was just like to the story of like two guys,
Yeah.
and
They were released from prison. They were kind of like
mm,
lifelong, in and out of prison.
so then
Some
like
of the lingo kind of remind me a little bit of Jack Black.
for sure, and then there was a lot of back and forth on like what their story was, what they were doing, their
Yeah.
childhoods, what was going on in the town after the murders. Like
Yeah.
people started to get like weary of each other.
And it was kind of a long time.
It took a long time before it was like, wait, why did they
Yeah.
murder this family for no reason? Like, because there was no connection to the family or like
No.
anything like that at all.
It was what happened was like one of the guys that they were in prison with told them about this guy, Clutter. He had worked on his farm as like a farmhand, and he said like he was like very nice and a respectful person. And he also said like there was a safe, and then he also talked about how they had like a younger daughter. So I think like, one of the things was one of the guys, I don't know if that's jumping too far
No,
ahead,
no,
but he's like
no,
a
no.
pedophile that's like trying not to be a pedophile, but like is even embarrassed by the fact that he's a pedophile.
They just like threw that in there at one point. Like
Yeah,
there was this whole like it was pretty far into the book.
it
This whole
was.
story about them, and they're like, yeah, once one guy's a like he
Yeah.
likes
And
little
it
girls.
was kind of also just like when they couldn't figure out what the motive actually was, because it turns out there wasn't a safe. So there wasn't a safe, and then they're like on trial, right? So they catch them,
Hmm.
and then they go on trial, which again was where I thought it actually started getting a little bit
I think
interesting.
even before like the questioning, I thought was pretty good because then they kind of tricked like these two guys were like friends from prison, but they weren't
Yeah.
like super loyal to each other, so they kind of separated them.
Hmm.
And then all of a sudden they were like, this guy like ratted on you,
Yeah.
and then they kind of like had some bad blood.
Oldest trick in the book.
But oh yeah, they literally got flipped in 1 second,
Yeah.
and then the one guy was like, oh this
Like
dummy
he
flipped
killed
on
him.
me, like
Yeah.
I'm gonna tell you the whole story. And like again, it goes back to other books where like how much is like really how it happened versus like like the Modoc theory of like
Yeah.
if you're telling a story, but like this one thing I thought helps was like that like Perry, that one prisoner
Yeah.
in other parts of the book had like a very photographic memory.
Yeah.
So he was describing things like very much in detail.
Yeah.
So then when he was telling the story of like what happened that night in the Clutter House,
Yeah.
it was very, very detailed, which would give me pause normally, but I feel like it had some credibility with him being the one kind of giving all of the information.
Yeah, and the cop said a lot of the testimony like actually held up when they.
Yeah, so this is spoiler alert. So if you made it this far, congrats. Um, so like I think it's interesting like how it all went down in the house where
Yeah,
like they're there to get a safe.
yeah,
They don't know this family at all. They don't they you know they have the layout of the house memorized and that's it. And then they kind of they get into the house, they get the dad.
yeah.
They're like, "Show us your safe." He's like, "I don't have a safe. What are
They
you
knew
talking
there
about?"
was going to be a lot of people too, because they
Yeah,
like had to get rope to tie them up, and they're like, worst case scenario, there's like 12 people in the house, which
yeah.
again would have given me pause to be like, let's pick a different house, like,
Yeah, a different night. Like it was Thanksgiving, so like
yeah.
they're about to have a lot of family visit.
So they ended up not having all those people over. It was literally just the family, but even the family had four people. It was Mr. Clutter, his wife, and then his daughter Nancy, and then his younger son Kenyon, who
Yep.
was like about 14 or 15,
Yeah.
and she was like 17, the daughter.
Yeah. So essentially it was just like it became a disagreement between the murderers where he's like, I don't have a safe. Like I'll write you guys a check, like,
Yeah,
whatever you need, here's all my cash. He was cooperating.
yeah,
And then they were kind of just like it was like an ego battle. Like the one guy was like, all right, let's leave. The
yeah,
other guy's like, no, I'm not leaving without anything.
yeah.
So they end up like
Yeah, tying up all the kids and all the people, while the one that's convinced they have a safe is like, banging on walls of the house, trying to like find like the secret safe that doesn't exist. I
yeah.
think then he finally realizes like there actually isn't a safe because he's been through the entire house and like, you know, like literally nothing. And then that's where I think they have the biggest disagreement, which is like the one guy I think was is ready to just kind of go.
Yeah, I
Um,
think Perry's like, let's just leave.
yeah. And then the other one's like, no. And I think
He's like,
like,
I'm gonna go for the girl.
yeah, so like that's where it gets a little bit weird is like Perry says he has to like he knows Dick and he like hates the fact that he has this like aversion, he calls it, to like younger girls.
Yeah.
That he like starts to realize that he's now his focus is shifted and his focus had maybe potentially always been the younger girl to the girl, and like Perry has to like kick him out of the room and say like we're not doing that, like you're gonna have to go through me first. So then Hickok's just like, all right, let's just kill everyone and get out of here.
Yeah. But then he kind of chickens out,
Yeah.
right? And then Perry is like,
I also had a little bit of a hard time with the names because they have like three different names each. It was like Perry something something. And
yeah.
sometimes he calls him Perry and sometimes he calls him by his last name.
Sometimes he calls him like honey,
Yeah, well they called each other honey.
which was weird. I was gonna
Yeah.
bring that up. So I think like Perry didn't want to do it, but Dick was like chickening out from killing them.
Yeah.
And Perry's like, you're such like a little chicken, like you're just
Yeah.
all talk, you don't do anything. Like watch me. And he's just like, just to prove a point, like he slits Mr. Clutter's throat
Yeah.
in front of his son. Then eventually,
He's like bleeding out but not dying. So then
yeah,
he starts to feel bad that he's suffering. So then he shoots him with a shotgun.
then he shoots him in the face with a shotgun.
Yeah, which was weird.
Then they shoot the son.
Yeah.
Then they go upstairs. They shoot the daughter,
Yeah.
and then they shoot the mom.
Yeah. And
Um,
then they leave and like their total haul from four murders was $40, which I thought was like
like
hilarious.
$80 in today's money.
Yeah.
Um, and then they immediately they left. They go to Mexico. They got away with it. Like there's no clues. They did a
Yeah.
good job somehow of like collecting the shotgun shells, like
Yeah.
really thinking everything through. There's like a few boot prints that like they'll never tie back because they're in Mexico,
Yeah.
and they run out of money in Mexico because $40 doesn't go that far.
Yeah.
And then they're like, let's go back to Kansas City
Yeah.
and like cash some more like bad checks because that worked like
Yeah.
before we murdered anyone.
And they're
So
like working at a garage for a little
they
bit.
literally go back to the town
Yeah.
where it happened, and then they end up getting caught doing that,
Yeah.
and then they're able to like eventually they get traced back to the murders because of that one guy.
Yeah, the guy from prison. So the guy that was in prison with them eventually like he hears about the murders and he finds out there's $1,000 reward for like information leading to it. And he was the guy who told them about the clutters.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
like Perry or whoever, whichever one it was, like said like, when I get out, like I'm gonna go to the clutter household, I'm gonna take all the money from the safe and I'm gonna kill everyone in the house. So the
yep.
guy's just like, wow, it's weird that that happened. And I told this guy, and like nobody else in
He
the world would have known about Mr. Clutter. Like he was just some like pretty
he,
small farmer in the
he knew right
middle.
away.
Yeah, like
He's like, oh shit, I know the murderer,
yes,
and it was my idea.
yeah, it's not like he was like a big name and it could have been anyone. So um then he's like hesitant at first because he doesn't want to call police and be like, "Hey, I told these guys about this guy with a safe and then they murdered him," because then it's like
He was
he's gonna get
nervous.
years tacked on. So he kind of like wiggles his way around it. He ends up making a deal to testify against them, and then he gets the $1,000 reward and he gets
They
let
get
out of
caught.
prison early. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean that's the story,
Yeah, I mean there
right?
wasn't much more.
They get caught, they confess, there's a big trial,
Yeah.
they get put on death row. They last there, like they keep appealing because they're like, oh, the trial wasn't fair.
Yeah.
So they end up on death row for a while, and they meet some other death row people because
Which I
they're all
thought was the best part of the book,
that.
honestly.
I like the stories about the other
And
guys.
like when he's in the trial house, he's like staying at like some house, like which I didn't know was a thing
I didn't
either.
understand that.
Yeah, so it's like it'd be like you having this house and having like a prison and the courtroom like attached to it. Not even the
Like
prison, just like a courtroom
on the
attached
first
to it.
floor is the courtroom
Yes,
or
and then
something.
like upstairs is where some family lives, and where they live, there's also like a couple of cells, and they couldn't even put them next to each other because they didn't want them talking.
Right, they wanted to keep the
Yeah,
stories.
so then one of them ends up going to like literally in this little like cell that's like an extension of the kitchen.
Yeah,
So like as this woman's like cooking food for them and doing their laundry, she's like talking and they're like conversing all day and it's just like that sounds like a pretty good situation
she'd
for a
be like,
guy
"What do you
that's
want for
like
dinner
just
tonight?" And
yeah,
he
he's
just,
like Spanish rice and she
yes,
was like, "Yeah, I love." And she like almost it sounded like really kind of vibed with them. Like she was like
she
sad for
felt
them.
because he was like a pathetic dude. Like he was small, his legs were like mangled from a
Yeah.
crash.
Yeah.
And I think she was like, yeah, he murdered four people for no reason.
Yeah.
But I feel like bad for him because he's like so pathetic.
Yeah, totally.
I think that was like common
Common theme for
for Perry.
yeah.
Perry was pathetic.
Was
Um,
Perry the one that had the really bad childhood too?
yeah,
So like that I thought was the best part of the entire book where like there that was kind of the cool part about it is like because they were in prison and wrote letters and did all this stuff,
hmm
like he had a lot of like quotes from them.
yeah,
And like one of my favorite quotes was like I think Perry said the clutters didn't hurt me like so many others in my life. Maybe they were just the ones that had to pay for it.
yeah.
And I thought that that was like I think that's a line that shows have used before, and I'm sure movies have used before. It's like pretty sad, but like
It's like yeah, they were just the wrong time, wrong place
yeah,
when like all of his like lifetime rage kind of
yeah.
boiled up into like one act.
Because his like parents left him when he was young. He was in and out of foster homes. Like the nuns, he used to like wet the bed when he was little because he was like so weakly and sick that his like bladder like couldn't keep his
Yeah,
pee throughout the night. So
yeah,
like because he was so little and he was peeing the bed, the nuns would just come in and beat the living shit out of him and then like embarrass him in front of like all the other boys in the foster home. So like he definitely had a tough go of it.
yeah. One of my discussion questions was actually, what do you think about the juxtaposition between Perry and Dick? Perry having like the worst childhood ever, Dick
Yeah,
growing up in like a normal family, but
yeah.
they both end up in the same place.
Whereas I was at, I don't know what juxtaposition means.
I don't know if I'm using it
Yeah,
right.
like the contrast between them, like the
Yeah,
differences.
like they yeah, essentially like completely different childhoods, but they end up
Yeah,
in the same place. Like,
I think yeah, I mean it's the nature versus nurture thing
right.
that it's like I think some people, are born certain ways and other people develop in those same ways for different reasons. Like I think there are people that are just born being a sociopath and, or psychopath or whatever it is. Like I think some people are born that way and I think other people develop it from like having a lot of trauma and all that and it like
Yeah.
stunts their development.
Or like having no trauma. Like Dick didn't have trauma.
His life was too good.
His life was too good, but he like never. I don't even know why he became like so bad. Like he just couldn't follow rules and like could was never like super happy like doing the normal things that like people do, like playing sports.
Yeah.
Like he would play all sports, but like didn't care and didn't want to go to school or anything.
He was the pedophile though, right?
He was a pedophile.
I think that's maybe part of it. It's like you have this secret
And Perry, on the other hand, horrible childhood, beaten by nuns,
Yeah.
but hates pedophiles.
Yeah. Yeah, that
So,
might be more of a juxtaposition. But yeah, I don't know. I think having a secret like that your whole life, like he by the end, like he has like a thing
true.
at trial where he's literally just like I murdered four people and I'm not ashamed at all and I feel nothing about it. But he like writes in his diary that like he'd be ashamed and like would try to kill himself if they ever found out that the real reason he was there was to rape the girl.
That's the whole reason why he actually confessed like everything, I think, was they were like, Perry told us
You were just
you were
there to
gonna
rape
rape
the
her.
girl.
And then
Yeah.
he was like, oh, he told you that part?
Yeah.
Like, he didn't care about the murders. And then
Yes.
he's like, oh, I'll tell you what
Yeah.
Perry did.
Yeah.
And then,
So he's
yeah,
like very ashamed by something that it's like raping a 17-year-old and murdering a 17-year-old, I would say kind of fall into the same category of punishment and
probably.
despicability.
Yeah, oh, yeah, yeah.
Like an innocent 17-year-old that you just went in the bedroom and shot. It's like
Yeah.
very strange. So he obviously like didn't have all of his marbles. So that was probably born
Yeah.
with. And
My
but yeah.
other, I have one other discussion question.
Okay.
So you had to rank the clutters.
I thought you were gonna say if you had to rank the death row five. If
We
it
could
was like
rank
five.
that.
Yeah.
We could rank them too.
That I thought was the most interesting part. So like they go to prison for this and then they get put on death row because the trial like that was the trial was not whether they were guilty or not. It was literally whether they were gonna be sentenced to death or not.
Yeah.
Also weird that the jury decided to put them to death. That's not something I don't think we do anymore. The judge decides on the punishment. The jury
Ah,
just decides
guilty.
whether
The
they're guilty or
verdicts.
not.
Yeah.
Yes. And then the judge decides what's a thing for them. But like in this trial, the jury decided because I guess it was like 1950s.
Yeah, yeah.
So like
Be
the jury
different.
decided like they're guilty and then they were going to be murdered, hanged,
Hanged. And they got hanged.
and they got hanged.
Finally, eventually.
Took a while.
It did take a while.
So like yeah, then they went through the whole appeals process, but while that's going on, it's like they're on death row. So they're in this separate hallway in this state prison.
You rank death row.
Yeah.
People, best to worst. I'll rank the clutters next.
Okay.
Right.
So death row one number one best was Lowell Lee Andrews.
Agree.
So he was like this 300-pound like Kansas student that like everyone was like, oh, he's such a good guy, he's such a nice guy. He is really smart. Like while he was in prison, he was reading, they said, and I was like envious of this, like 15 to 30 books a week.
Yeah.
Like that's
Like, put me in jail
yeah.
right now. You want to
Oh,
turn up the podcast?
yeah.
Let's
So
see, we're throwing out daily episodes.
I know. Yeah. Imagine. And like their life in death row just didn't seem that bad because it was like they were allowed to talk to each other all day. They weren't allowed to leave their cell.
Hmm.
But if I'm in maximum security prison, I'd rather be with like five guys where we're stuck in our own cells where we can like talk to each
Just
other,
reading books.
reading books and painting. The other one was like painting a ton of
Yeah.
pictures. And it just didn't seem that bad. But he was like this guy that like nobody could even imagine that he'd kill anyone. Turns out he like went home and like murdered his entire family for like his dad's property. And then he said like he felt no emotions when killing them, that it'd be the same as like killing a fly or like an animal,
Like he
that he
just
just
like
felt
felt like
nothing.
doing it. Like
Yeah.
there's no real reason, or I don't think.
And like he tried to give himself an alibi by like driving back to school and then driving back and then calling the police and being like, "Hey, I just found my family murdered." But then he was like sitting outside on his porch, like petting his dog, and the cops were just like, "Hey, did you call us?" And he was just like, "Just go inside." And like,
No emotion.
yeah, like no emotion, was just like, "Go check inside," and they're just like, "Holy shit!" Like everyone. So then he's like, "What happened? What happened?" And he's literally just like, "I don't know. Like I just came here
Like
and then they were
robbery.
dead." Yeah,
Must have been a robbery.
yeah, like nothing. So much so that the cop was just like, this kid's acting really weird. And then the coroner came, and the coroner was like, is something wrong with this kid? And they knew it was him like immediately.
Instantly caught.
Um, so yeah, he died, and then yeah, there was the two guys that went on like the spree
Yep.
in Florida.
They were 2 and 3.
And that was yeah, they were probably two and three.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Perry and Dick would be after that.
Yeah.
But they like went
For
on a
sure.
crazy spree. But it was just like those I thought that was almost the best part of it.
I like the stories, hearing what all the other murderers were up to, for
Yeah.
sure. That
And just that
was
they were all hanging out. They were having a
probably,
good time. They had like a great sense of humor with the guards too. Like the
yeah,
guards
yeah.
were like, had you sleep last night, like the day before he was about to be like hung. And he was just like shortest sleep of my life, and
Yeah,
like the guards started cracking up.
like,
Like they
not
were
long
having a
enough.
good
Yeah,
time.
yeah, they're having a good time on death row.
All right, Clutters, number one.
Number one and least, like the best, the ones I wanted killed the least.
The ones you wanted killed the least. So like,
My
okay,
favorites. That's
favorite.
probably an easier way to say.
I think so. But
Number one, Nancy.
oh yeah, can't
Has to
miss.
be Nancy. She's like the star
Yeah,
of the town.
golden child,
She's, so busy, still taking time to teach Jolene to cook cherry pie,
prom
which,
queen at a time where I think that was actually important.
yeah. I've never had cherry pie, but it sounds good. It sounds American.
I think I've had it. Not good.
Not good.
I
Have
don't
you
think
had
so.
Nancy's?
Not or Billy Jolene.
Number two, Mr. Clutter.
Hmm.
Seemed like a decent guy, respectable.
Yeah,
Number three, I had Kenyon.
yeah,
Kid needed to go.
yeah,
He was aloof. He was weird.
yeah,
Get rid of him.
yeah.
Number four, Bonnie, Mrs. Clutter.
She had a lot of problems.
She was pretty much just like completely crazy. Like
Yeah,
she had to go.
yeah.
Like so, those two I was okay with. Then I Googled because I was curious to see what they all look like.
Nice. I
I
didn't do
I
that.
Googled a picture.
Yeah.
New rankings.
I okay. So I actually envision like Mr. Clutter, like I envision him as like a 6'4",
He was tall.
balding, like like the dad in How I Met Your Mother, like Marshall's dad, like the
I,
Minnesota. Have you ever seen that show?
I've seen only a few episodes. I
He's like
can't.
a big burly Minnesota guy that's just kind of like the
It's a
man.
picture of him. Total nerd.
Oh, really?
Total
Oh,
nerd.
that's really upsetting.
Kenyon number one.
Why?
Looks like he was cool.
Really?
Looks like he was cool.
Okay.
Everyone else could probably go. Nancy, it was like not a great picture of Nancy. Like I thought she'd be like a good looking
Yeah, like
girl,
prom
like
queen, yeah.
whatever. It wasn't her best, maybe.
I think that's what's so
It's not a lot
funny
of pictures.
when they turn books into movies and then they get cast and like people are so upset. I've never understood that, but I had also never read a book before. So like I couldn't understand it. Now, like if they were to make a movie of this, I would have
Mm.
a lot to say in who got casted for what.
Oh my
And you
goodness.
probably have even more to say now because you actually know what they look like.
Seeing the pictures definitely changed some things, but
Yeah.
that was my rankings. I think that was
Um,
like it for things I really had on this book.
I also really have to pee, so you're gonna have to find something. to talk. Is the side door open or not?
Yes, that door's open. I'm gonna tease the next book real quick. Before we do a rating on the Clutters. Sounds like Steve's real low on Clutters, so I'm gonna guess also here that he might be rating this in the twos or low threes. I was kind of settling in the high threes, so I'm interested to see what he comes with. So the next book, though, as a little quick teaser before he gets back, is essentially I forget the name, but I'll get it. It is a book that is all about the Federal Reserve, which sounds like it's boring, but I think the things that we're about to get into are going to be a lot more shocking than that story we just told about four people getting murdered in cold blood for no apparent reason at all. Um, and I'm gonna try my best to tell this story, present all the facts, and then see if I can get Steve to agree that this is a five-star book. Because in my mind, this no one's safe in this book. We're gonna go through the banking system. We're gonna go through the history of that, how we got there. We're gonna explain why everything, literally everything, is fake. When it World War One, World War Two. People think the Civil War is safe, like, oh, that was all good, right? Civil War is not safe. Abraham Lincoln, Honest Abe, he's gonna get exposed. So I'm excited to really dive into it. But Steve's coming back, so I don't want him to hear um any of that. So I think we're ready to rate the Clutters.
All right. Yeah, I was just thinking about it. Where's my phone here?
Do you wanna give a number? You have
Uh,
stronger opinions than me, like on the negative side. Like
yeah,
it wasn't a home run or anything, but like I did enjoy reading it. It was different. Like I wouldn't want every one of our books to be like that,
I agree. I think it,
but like I was like tuned in. I wasn't like struggling to get through it even in the reading parts. Like I was there were definitely parts that I struggled with, but
yeah,
overall I think pretty good.
I thought it certainly got better. Like I thought it was headed for like a 2-star the first like 100 pages. Like where there just wasn't the mystery. I didn't like how he wrote it, but I did think like you do end up invested in it, what's going to happen to these guys, and you do end up like feeling a certain way about them and all that. I thought part of it too is it kind of reminded me of like a movie that's like from the 1970s and like people everyone's just like, oh, it's a great movie, it's a great movie, it's a great movie. But if you go and you try to watch it in like 2026, you're not gonna be like, oh, that's like the best movie I've ever seen.
for sure.
You'll be like, you'll take it with a grain of salt and you'll just be like, hey, I could see how that was really good, but you weren't actually like, it's like a James Bond from
Yeah, you
can't be
it
as good as a
doesn't
James
hold up.
Bond
Yeah,
now.
it's just a different thing.
Yeah. And I felt like that in this book that I didn't know books would maybe be like that, but just kind of how it was written, how it was set up. Like, I'm sure it was a great book for when it came out, but it just isn't maybe as good as like some of the books that we're reading now that are more recent.
Yeah, like I wouldn't jump to recommend it to someone. I would give them word of caution, like, hey, if you're into this type of true crime, maybe like you'd like it, but
And you like
I,
things that are like completely outdated and all right, but go ahead. I got a rating here.
okay. I was guessing what you might be rating while you were gone.
Oh
But
yeah.
so I didn't hate it again, I think I just gave my spiel, so I'm just gonna say 3.75.
Okay. And I think that's probably fair. I went 3.3.
Okay.
Like
That
not
puts it like a 3.5.
yeah, and I think that's right,
Yeah,
honestly.
barring the math.
Yeah.
Um I was saying I think you're gonna come in high twos or low threes
Yeah.
on it, which I think 3.3 might be like a notch above where I thought.
Um
But that's, I mean, I was thinking maybe you say like 3.2. So
Yeah, I think you like you said, it wasn't so much that it was like a really poorly written book or was terrible. Like it wasn't. It was good. This is concerning.
this is our cornhole strategy.
How that I like.
That's nice,
Yeah.
right? Drink one, 12:30 to 1,
We
30 minute,
actually really held up
30
to
minute
this.
water break.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, we didn't get drunk,
Like I mean, drink three. Like we were through three
but
beers in 4 hours.
a book like this, I need to have like my thoughts in
Handwritten
order.
notes, love
Let's switch over.
it. Okay.
Let me read. Right, or else it just like gets all in my head and I completely forget everything because it's
Yeah.
like this book is like you need to have everything like laid out to
Yeah.
kind of fully grasp it.
Yeah.
So I teased it a bit, but the book is The Creature from Jackal Island, A Second Look at the Federal Reserve by G. Edward Griffin. Um, should we do like overall thoughts about the book
Yeah.
first and then dive into like
Because we're gonna have a lot. With this one, we're
everything,
gonna have to go through, I think,
like stage by
chapter by
stage?
chapter. Yeah.
Yeah.
So first initial thought, love this one, but also hated it in the same way that like my first note is it's sickening to listen to, but it's fascinating.
No, literally like reading a book about four murders.
Yeah.
The, this book makes me so much more upset.
Yeah. I had a
It's
hard time. Like that's why it took me a while to get through this, especially at the beginning. The beginning was
yeah.
really hard to get through. It kind of reminds me of Untethered Soul a little bit, that like Untethered Soul, there's a moment in the beginning where they start talking about your internal voice and
hmm
how like you
Yeah.
can have conversations with that voice, but that voice really isn't you. And then they're like as you're reading, they're like, and now you're probably thinking, what do I have
It's like
this
in your
internal
head.
voice? And it's like you're not saying it out loud, like that's the voice, and you're just like, Jesus, get out
Oh,
of my head. Yeah.
yeah.
And it's like people have a hard time getting through that part of Untethered Soul, and I get it because it wasn't easy to get through. Like, and same thing in this. Like, if you can make it past the disgusting aspect of money and just money hungry and the system just being so flawed and just like despicable, once you can get past that, it's a great book.
Right. It's like depressing knowing all of this stuff now,
Yes.
but not knowing like it's
You're glad you
good.
know it.
Yeah. Kind of do something unorthodox.
Yeah.
I want to throw out a rating
Okay.
and
I have
let's
mine in
see if it
this.
holds up
Yeah.
because it needs to be fully agreed upon, obviously, before we do it.
Yeah.
5 star.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, my one note, and I'll show it to you here.
One note, I got 17.
I mean, just at
No, I
the
know.
end, but yeah, 4.71, and I said only that low because it's depressing as hell to read. So it's like
Right.
in that five
Yeah.
star range where it's like any one of the books that we give 5 star, I would recommend to anyone at any time. except maybe Steppenwolf.
Yeah.
That might be one where like, you got to be ready for
Mm.
that type of thing. But like, I totally agree. This is a 5-star book. One of my notes is that this is a 5-star book.
I think this is more like Untethered Soul, where like everyone should read it, but
Yes.
like
You're not
it's
gonna
not
like
right
it.
for everyone. Like
Yes.
you're gonna give it to someone, they're not gonna want to read it. They're not gonna
No.
care.
Yeah.
They rather live without knowing this type of stuff.
Yeah.
Um,
But yeah, I agree. And I think it unequivocally will hold up. Who was this author, by the way? It sounded like he was really in the know about everything.
yeah, so I
Like
did,
he was like was he in government?
I don't know. I just Googled him really quick last night because I had nothing to read.
Yeah.
And I was Googling clutter pictures, and he's like 94 now, I think.
Yeah.
So he wrote this, I think, first in like 1994.
Surprised he wasn't murdered.
Surprised he wasn't murdered, and then republished with updates in like the early 2000s.
The
But it reads as if he wrote it today.
the title is I Didn't Love. I thought he brought it together at the end.
The creature.
Yeah, it just kept mentioning it. This is the creature,
Yep.
which I kind of did like, but it also, though, I guess it is like really textbooky in a lot of ways, like financial textbook. It almost reads like
Mm,
at times where it's like if you just give the title like how banks work, like people are
for
just
sure.
immediately gonna be like,
For
I'm
sure.
not doing that.
So maybe it makes sense to start with like
A title that kind of is nothing about what the book is
what
actually,
the,
you know?
yeah, maybe we break down like Jackal Island,
Yeah,
what that is, and then we try to like just take it section by section
yeah.
because this is like
We're gonna be here for a while.
we're
Like,
gonna lock in.
like I have a hard out
Um,
at 2:30
yeah,
p.m., so that gives us
I
2 hours to
think
talk about this book, which I
I think
think
we're
is,
locked in here.
yeah, exactly what we need. We need about 2 hours.
We might.
So,
Yeah, go
all
for it.
right. So, first thing that happens in the book is
Lock it in.
he's talking about this meeting between essentially the five like biggest banks in the United States. Like the heads of those banks go off to this Georgian island, not Georgian, the country, but the state, like off of Georgia.
Yep, yep.
Didn't know how Georgia had. To be honest, I didn't even know it was.
I didn't know Georgia had islands,
Yeah.
but this is an island that does exist.
And it's like mostly used for hunting, so it's not like a Hamptons, or at least it wasn't back then.
No, it's like Hickville is
Yeah.
not populated. There's
Like
no people there.
yeah, it's like mostly used for like hunting like wild pigs or birds or something like that.
Yep.
So like no one really thinks much of it. And then these five people like go to this island, Jekyll Island, to discuss essentially the problem was banks were lending out money and then not getting the money back. So they would like lend out money and then all of a sudden like they wouldn't be paid back on their loan and then all of a sudden the banks would have to foreclose because they would have to pay back, their people and they would have no money for themselves and the banks would go under. So they were like looking for a way to essentially make the people responsible for like their risky investments. So they came up with the idea of like this Federal Reserve, this bank that essentially would be the ones to pay back the loans if the loans didn't materialize into them getting their money back. And essentially all the money comes from the people, right? If I'm understanding this right.
Yeah.
So it's pretty much just like they didn't want to be responsible for these risky loans. They wanted the government to then be responsible, but the government is really us, like our taxes.
Right.
So
Very.
like they would
Yeah.
essentially be paid back in tax money or in inflation, which we'll get to a lot more later. But they essentially didn't want to be the ones holding the bill, which is just crazy because like that's what banks are. Like you guys are supposed to be the ones like responsible for this money. Like that's why we're giving it to you. Is because like you have it in this nice secure
Hmm.
vault and bank where nobody can get to it rather than at my house someone could just break in
For
through
sure.
any window. We're giving it to you because you guys are supposed to be like good with money and like you're not just gonna like wildly just give like $1 trillion to Cuba to build some underwater deep sea vessel that has no chance of being successful, like.
For sure.
So it's just like these banks kept going under, and then they were just like, this doesn't work. Like we can invest this as riskily as we want to, if that's a word.
Sure is.
And yeah, so they essentially were like, what's a way that we can have the people responsible for paying back the debts of someone else that defaulted on their loan.
That's a great summary. So, just to add,
Yeah.
they had this secret meeting on Jekyll Island. Who's
Mhm.
there? The big players.
So all the big New York banks, right?
Rockefeller,
Yeah.
J.P. Morgan, Paul Wahlberg,
Yeah.
David Aldrich. These are all the big Wall Street players at the time. A lot of those names you probably recognize. And essentially, they say they're going on a duck hunt. They're super secretive about how they get there. They don't want anyone to know that all these people are together in one place.
They're like not using their names, like they're only
Right.
using first names
My first quick side note is
because they know they're doing something illegal.
a bunch of dudes going to an island together.
Hasn't gone
I got
well in
some
the
other
past. Yeah.
questions there. It's got Epstein vibes.
Different type of island though.
Yeah, got different. It's I question it,
Yeah.
but to me, this is like like when people talk about like conspiracy theories, like oh, you think a bunch of people are just like sitting in a room like deciding this, like who's they?
Yes.
Like this is they. This
Yes.
is how it happened in the banking system.
Yeah.
This is how things kind of started, and it's the book goes into a lot of history of other civilizations and stuff, and it always kind of has like the same exact story, but this is like our story of it.
You're right. And like this is really like conspiracy theory has been something that I think is way more popularized now than it's ever been. Like in terms of like whether people like realize that it's these things
Mhm.
happen, but like I think this book was a really weird kind of like with COVID, where people are like COVID was a conspiracy. It's like there's levels to the extent that you think it was a conspiracy. One level and a basic level is just that pharma companies give a ton of money to CNN and the government and Pfizer and all these like,
Mhm.
political things, and then the policies then turn around and tell you you have to take the COVID vaccine, which then make them a ton of money. That money then flows back to the politicians a little bit. It flows back to them. So it's like the conspiracy is money. And I think like most people can get on board with that. Is that not even really being that much of a conspiracy theory?
100%. And I think in this book, like
But
certain
there's like levels.
certain things are fact in terms of like this is just how the banking system works, and we'll get
Yes.
into it of like how banks lend to each other and make money and all of that. Like that's not a conspiracy
Yeah.
theory. Conspiracy comes in terms of like they're parlaying this system to get
Like
us
they know what they're doing.
into war
Yes.
and into these things. And now we can list the facts around it, and you can make conclusions on whether or not it's a conspiracy of why we went into World War One or
Yes.
not. But like the facts are pretty damning.
Yes.
The the things that add up around it, and then you can decide whether or not that's a conspiracy. But like when we're just talking about the system
Yeah.
and how things work, like that,
Like that's not even a
you just
conspiracy.
go on Wikipedia and you can see that. Like
Yeah.
that's nothing.
And we've talked about that before, and it's like I guess that's where I was a little bit going with this is just like the degree at which you think that this is a conspiracy. Like some people will take it so far and just be like, the vaccine was actually a way to like literally control people's minds, or some people would be like, oh, it was for like social control. So it's like an
Mhm.
experiment to see if they could do this,
Right, right.
like type of
Yeah.
thing. Could we get everyone to take like that? It was literally just a thing. And it's like there's so many levels to it. And in
Right.
this book, I thought he did a really good job of like finding the right level of conspiracy.
100%. Like he didn't get too out there. Like
He did
everything
it,
seemed very reasonable
but also just like utterly wild, but like
and
very
just
much
like
supported by evidence.
yeah, and here's the evidence and if you have counter evidence, that's great and then you can debate it, but like the evidence is pretty damning.
Yeah.
And so these guys go to Jekyll Island. Essentially you summarized it, but they were at that point a quarter of the world's wealth.
Yeah.
And they wanted to make sure that it stayed that way. So they come up with this idea for the Federal Reserve, which is not federal, nor is it a reserve.
Nope.
And you kind of summarize this, but there are five goals for this meeting were stop the growth of small regional banks, which were their competition,
Yeah.
make money supply more elastic, which essentially is just like increasing or decreasing the money supply, so
Yeah.
that way,
Being able to loan out like 85, 90%
yeah,
of people's money rather than being able to loan out 40% of the money.
exactly. Instead of people raising their own capital by like earning more funds or doing
Yeah.
something else, they just go right to the banks. Um, they wanted to pool like one large reserve, so that way if one of them were failing, they had something to help bail them out.
Yeah.
Shift losses from the banks to the taxpayers, which
Yeah.
we'll get into. And then just one of the scarier parts was convince Congress that all of this is to protect the public.
Yeah.
So like the accepted, if you look up what is the Federal Reserve, the accepted history is that it's created to help stabilize the economy.
Yeah.
And, you know, that's one thing. But if you were to look at the economy since the Federal Reserve came, it's been nowhere close to stable.
It's like anything. I think things might have been introduced with a good intention, and like this was essentially the intention. If like we have a local bank, like I don't know, Wells Fargo,
Right.
and me and you put our money in Wells Fargo. Wells Fargo goes out and invests, a bunch of money in some oil deal that ends up having no oil. And they end up losing all of our money. And then all of a sudden, without even people realizing, they start trying to pull out their money. And then they're like, we actually don't have your money anymore because we lost it all in an oil deal. We just are trying to get more money from people to then keep this whole thing going. But in reality, eventually, like people realize they can't pull out their money. They have to admit that they don't have it anymore, and that then the bank like forecloses. Me and you lose that $50,000. Like there's nothing that guarantees our money back. So like that's I think the initial start of like why people voted in favor for this is because with
Mhm.
the Federal Reserve, your money is now guaranteed. So if I put $50,000 into this bank, if the bank makes that same risky maneuver and they lose all the money, I can still get my 50,000 back out because it'll be guaranteed by the Federal Reserve, right? But
Yes.
the problem with that is it allows the banks to invest in whatever they want, as risky as they want, and they're not even interested. Like they made it very clear in this book, like the banks actually don't even want like you to pay back the loan. They want you to be in debt for your entire life so that they can keep collecting 5%, 2% interest or whatever it is on the
Yep.
amount that you're borrowing. So much so that like if you owe them $1 million and your business just isn't being successful, rather than like letting you just foreclose and all that, they'll be like, we're gonna give you an extra $3 million for you to try to bring your business back up.
Yep. It
And
is.
then really just to collect more money in.
100%. So important to note that like most people don't know that when you go to a bank and you deposit your paycheck, you just worked hard and you earn that money.
Yeah.
They don't keep it there.
No,
They used to have to keep some of it, and that amount that they used to have to
it's
keep
less and less and
got
less.
less and less and then got put to zero.
Yeah.
So now they literally don't have to keep any of your money at the bank.
Which is also why you very rarely even hear about banks being robbed anymore. And when they are, it's like how much they get. It'll be like 100,000 in like a major New York
Yeah,
bank. And it's like they just need to keep enough money to like,
for daily
yeah,
transactions.
almost like a
If you go to the ATM and you take
convenience
a hundred
store.
bucks, yeah,
Yeah, like a
exactly.
convenience store keeps enough for them to be able to like, to be able to
So
put money in and out.
that's an important point. I think it might make sense to lay out how the whole system works,
Yeah.
so that when we talk, go into like all of the different things, like we have the background.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna try.
Okay.
I got a flow chart here.
I really like that. You have to show that.
We're gonna
Yeah.
show it to everyone in here. Make sure you pause that and take a quick look at it. So
I'm so excited for this, by the way.
this is gonna be good.
This, by the way, before you get into this, is why, like I'm obviously a big advocate for book clubs. You don't have to join ours, but I
Just
think you
join
just
one.
join some. And the reason is like one, I would never read a book like this by myself, and
Yep.
then two, I've been trying to tell everyone about the Federal Reserve all week at work, and nobody wants to hear about it. I
Right.
can't say I blame
Because
them.
it sounds like this
Yeah.
is going to be such a boring topic, but when we get into this, then I want to get into the Fabians and like all the
Yes.
people behind
Yeah.
it and stuff like that.
But could you imagine like trying to talk to like someone at work, about the clutters, or like trying to talk to your wife about
I've
like
been trying
the
to tell her
clutters?
about
Yeah.
Fabians. All what is a Fabian? And
Or just fiat money where it's like you
yep.
give me money, I'm just like, I don't want your fiat
Yeah, I
money.
don't what is that? That's literally basically. I mean, the whole thing is that the whole money system is fake, and this will kind of help explain
Yeah.
how it is fake and how it works. So essentially, you have the government. Government as a country, we make money by selling goods and services to other countries, so we earn some income.
Yeah.
And then we have taxes, so like our government has revenue.
Yeah.
Then you have the other side of it where the government wants to spend money.
Yeah.
So the government's like, I want to do these programs or provide this
Military
to people,
welfare.
military, there's all,
Yeah.
all the stuff the government wants to do. The amount of money that we're earning is essentially never has been enough to cover the amount that they want to spend. So
Yeah.
they say, hey, I want to spend more money. So we're going to enter into what we call a budget deficit,
Yeah.
which is just spending more money than you earn.
Yeah.
Easy peasy. How does it do that? It issues bonds to raise funds.
Love this part.
So it sells a bunch of bonds.
Yeah.
People buy them.
Yeah.
They get bought, and then the
They're pretty
government
much
gets a bunch of money.
guaranteed. So
So
like the government will guarantee that those bonds.
we'll get paid.
Yeah.
So essentially, they have these bonds to pay. They're going to pay them back with interest
Yeah.
and then the principal as well. So if you buy a bond for $1,000
Yeah.
and it's 10% interest for
Yeah.
a year later they pay you the $1,000 that they first borrowed
Yeah.
with 10% additional interest,
Yeah.
an extra $100. So they're saying, hey, that's guaranteed. It's
Yeah.
backed by the full faith and credit
Yeah.
of the U.S. government.
Yeah.
So the government is now selling all these bonds to get all this money.
Yeah.
Who's buying the bonds? That's where the
Banks.
Federal Reserve comes in.
Okay.
So the bonds are bought by some people like us.
Yeah.
Like maybe you were like, hey, that sounds like a good investment,
Yeah.
a good way to earn some interest on my money. I don't need this money right now. I could buy some bonds. International countries may think the same thing.
Yeah.
The rest of them are bought by the Federal Reserve.
Yeah.
So the Federal Reserve will like purposely buy all of the bonds
Yeah.
to give money to the government.
Yeah.
And when they do this, it's called quantitative easing, which is like essentially finance terms for like easy money. So like when we're in like an easy money scenario, like the
Yeah.
Federal Reserve is buying a lot of bonds from the government.
Okay.
So now the government gets this flood of money in. So the problem starts here because the Federal Reserve doesn't have any money. The Federal Reserve has zero real
They
dollars.
don't do anything.
Essentially, all they do is just create money. So they're just literally making a accounting transaction on a piece of paper
Yeah.
saying, all right, $100, we're going to use that to buy federal bonds. So now new money was just created out of debt, not even out of nothing, out of debt, enters the money supply, enters the economy.
Yeah.
Now the government passes a spending bill. So you always hear about in the news like they're fighting over a spending bill, what's going to be in it, what's not. The government's going to shut down if they can't agree on a spending bill.
Yeah.
So let's say they pass this spending bill. Now the government has $2 trillion that they can spend. They start to go and spend that money and it goes into the economy.
Okay.
So they say we pay some Social Security, some of it goes to a defense contract with Lockheed Martin.
Yeah.
We pay our federal employee salaries. Now all these different people in the country have all this money that they didn't have before.
That they then spend and
So then they take that money, federal employee gets a salary,
yeah.
they put it in their bank. That's a safe place to put it. So this money never existed before.
Yeah.
It's now in a bank. They go to JP Morgan, that's their bank. They say, this is a safe place to put my money.
Yeah.
I'm going to put it in. JP Morgan says, thank you. We're going to give you like 0.01 interest percent on that.
Yeah.
And then we don't have to hold any reserve anymore. So we're going to lend out your money
Yeah.
and make a return on it because that's how we make money.
Yeah.
So then they take your money that didn't exist before,
Yeah.
that was created out of debt so
Yeah.
that the government can spend money. And then they start to earn interest. They give out mortgages, you have some credit cards, you give out a loan to a small business,
Yeah.
and then all of that money is now in the economy and in the hands of people. So when you give Johnny $1,000
To
loan
start a
for his small
sandwich shop.
business because
Yeah.
he wants to add a new deli station to the
Yeah.
counter,
Hmm.
he gets $1,000.
Yeah.
He's like, this is cool. I am going to put this in Wells Fargo,
Yeah.
make sure that it's safe. Wells Fargo gets $1,000. They say, cool, thank you. I'm going to lend this out for interest to people.
Yeah.
And it literally just keeps going in a circle.
Yeah.
And the money is just creating more and more money.
Yeah.
And then essentially all of the money in the world, let's say, the country, is now a lot more than it was before this started.
It's just crazy too because it's so infrequent that the actual money itself even changes hands to the point where like
Hmm.
it kind of makes
It's
you
just
wonder,
a computer now.
yeah, like why we even we don't need money.
Why are
We
we
don't need money
pretending?
at all anymore. We
Nope.
literally don't need it at all. Like
Yep.
in that example, it's like half those transactions are literally just computer transactions,
All
and they
yeah.
used to just be handwritten
Yep.
transactions where they would say like, I write you a check and then you take that check, you deposit it at the
Hmm.
bank. There's no money that's physically being put into your account. It's just, writing numbers in your account. Paul now has $9,000 in his account from what he used to have $6,000.
Yep.
And
So
then but you actually don't have $9,000 in your account. You actually have $0 in your account. They're just guaranteeing that if
it's
you
literally all fake.
decided, yes, like you wanted $9,000, the Federal Reserve would print you $9,000 and then you'd be able to take it out of your bank. But the problem with that is if they printed you those $9,000, it causes massive inflation. Like if everyone wanted their money at the same time, one, there wouldn't be enough. Two, it would just cause massive inflation because they'd have to print all that money. There's not enough
Mhm.
money in circulation than the fake numbers that they're writing on people's
Exactly.
accounts.
And that's where it all comes to roost, where now you have all this money out there. It's all earning interest. The banks are
Yeah,
happy because they're literally just making free money
yeah,
for essentially doing nothing. And then eventually someone has to start paying something. But now we have a whole system that's based on debt only. So it ends up falling on the taxpayers. So essentially what happens is our money supply increases. And then it becomes time for the government to pay back those bonds that they promised everyone.
yeah,
How do they do that? Like they don't have any money. We're in a budget deficit.
yeah,
They issue more bonds. Federal Reserve buys them. They
yeah,
use the money that they just raised from the new bonds to pay off the old bonds, and then they're kind of further increasing this money supply that we have.
yeah,
So now instead of a world where there's 1 million total dollars that we're all sharing,
yeah,
there's now 2 million total dollars that we're all sharing. So Johnny's $1,000 that he was saving and he was going to invest in his deli counter,
yeah,
that new deli counter, he wants the good boar's head salamis and turkeys and
yeah,
stuff. He was planning, he was saving for it. Instead of costing $1,000, now that costs $2,000.
yeah,
So his $1,000 doesn't buy the same amount of things that it used to,
yeah,
which is essentially the hidden tax that we're all just slowly paying for all of this stuff to happen, for
yeah,
the government to get what it wants so that it can spend and do whatever programs it wants,
yeah,
for the banks to make all their money and interest for literally doing nothing.
yeah,
And then we are the ones that end up paying for it.
all of it.
So the people that suffer the most are the Johnny, who saves his money,
Like middle
because
class
your
and
money
lower
just
middle class.
becomes less and less.
Yeah,
The people that benefit are the people who are lending debt. So when there's
yes,
high inflation and you are a lender, it's good because now you can repay those debts with cheaper money
yeah,
because now there's more money to pay it back. So if you lent out $1 million, all of a sudden now there's 2 million,
yeah,
you're paying back 50% less than what you actually lent because the
yeah,
money just doesn't mean anything.
yeah. And that was like, I think one of the most interesting parts of the entire book is the way he looked at inflation was essentially the same as like a federal or state tax. That it's like if you hear your taxes are being raised, people will riot in the streets. Like if they tried to
Yes.
raise taxes 50%, right? Like you're gonna raise your federal tax, your state tax, your
Yep.
property tax, like taxes are gonna go up 50%. He said, like people would riot in the streets. There would be like looting beyond belief. But he said, like what inflation is a tax. It's the same as raising your taxes. They're just inflating the cost of money to the point where then, they're essentially getting their money through inflation rather than putting actually a physical tax on you. And I think like what's so interesting about this book is like it has like I wanted to know when it was written, so that was good that you kind of cleared that up because like it is so in line with what's happening right now. And I still like as good as he did, and like he did an amazing job, and part of it is I'm just not that bright with this type of stuff. But like I still don't understand how half these things work,
It
right?
takes time. Like I had to lay this out. I had to re-listen to stuff. I like put it into Claude,
Yeah,
and I was like, is this right? Like,
yeah,
based because I was like, it's kind of sweet that I could say like, hey, chapter 10
Yeah,
of this book
that is cool.
is the Mandrake mechanism.
Yeah.
Is this, am I right here? What am I missing? And it was like, yeah, you pretty much have it, but like,
No,
you're missing
AI
this and
is,
this.
yeah,
Insane.
crazy.
Um, so yeah, so again, they do this on purpose because people don't know that this is how we're paying for everything, and then it allows the government to keep doing it. Again, like if you had raised taxes explicitly and said, hey, and there's two sides to this. Hey, we're going
Yeah.
to raise the income tax.
Yeah.
Again, everyone's going to freak out.
Yeah.
You're right. So we don't do that. But this is all money's fake because we're creating money out of debt, which
Yeah.
is literally, this is fake. This is how it works.
Do you want to get rid of that fly in your wine before I give you one?
I've been trying to just like whittle them down to the end here. Let me see what I can do.
Um, while you're working on that fly
But
situation.
one last thing,
Yeah.
because this fly's just really a tricky guy, is
You always seem to get it and yours
yeah,
never
I always
not.
get a fly. Maybe pour me the wine. I'll like help bring him up to the top.
I think you're just gonna have to deal with
Yeah,
it
I'll just deal
for
with
the
it.
duration.
That's okay with me. But so essentially, that means is the government, in order to do all the spending they want, can create money out of nothing,
Yeah.
out of debt, essentially, which is less than nothing.
Yeah.
They don't need the money they are charging us for taxes. They don't need an income tax to do it.
Yeah.
They don't need a property tax to do it. They don't need a sales tax to do it. You don't need a capital gains tax to do it. You need a short-term capital gains tax to
Yeah.
do it. It's like you're getting taxed on every time you turn around and do something.
Yeah.
They don't need any of that money to do it.
Yeah.
But if they didn't do that, everyone would kind of start to question all of
Where is this
this.
money coming
Where
from?
this doesn't make, hold on, something else is going on.
Yeah.
So if you tax people, everyone focuses on the tax,
Yeah.
which I don't want to be taxed. It's a small part of it. But
Yeah.
while inflation is happening, if you're upset about like, oh, a 2% property tax, but like you're losing like 5% of your wealth every
Yeah.
year because
Yeah. Oh,
the
more than that. I mean, if homes go from what they went from, let's say like, your house would have been 650K pre-crazy inflation, 700K, and then it goes to 1.1. And like now it might be 1.4. And then it's like
I mean
that's literally
that's that's the thing that even before this book pissed me off was like, so in this book he mentioned, and like in general like people say like 5% inflation is like a good level because
nothing is 5% though. That's what I don't
right,
understand is they keep talking about inflation. So I ended up looking it up, and do you know
it's
what it said? Is it doesn't compound. It continually adds up. So like when they say inflation's at 5%, it's at 5% this year. And then at the end of the year when they say, oh, good news, it's at 4%. It's actually at 9%
yeah,
because it keeps compounding up. So like
exactly.
when
But
people are
they
saying inflation's 8%, and then you think about like a haircut went from $20 to $30.
to 40,
Yes, a
and
house
I started
went
cutting
from
my own hair.
600K
It
to a
went up.
million. Yup. And me too, which is why I'm wearing a hat.
That's it.
Um, and just everything. Eggs, like people are freaking out about
Well,
eggs.
that's what
But
always pissed me off is that they say like, oh, it's 8% inflation, it's really high, and I'd be like, I used to get a dozen eggs for $1. Now
yes,
it's $7. Where's the
yes,
8%? Like it,
yes.
but
And it's everything. A car that was
s-
30K is now
the way
50K.
they calculate the percent, which wasn't in this book, is also complete bullshit
Yeah,
because they do it based on like a basket of goods,
yeah.
but it's not consistent. So like they'll calculate it with like, oh, cars and groceries and this, and then the next
But
time they
none of
calculate
it.
it, they'll
Yeah,
include certain things to
yeah.
make the number a certain thing,
But also
which is
none
just
of it.
fake.
Yeah, none of it is at 5%.
It's
Like 5%.
the only thing that doesn't go up is my goddamn is the
Yeah,
salaries.
salaries like that must be the way they're calculating is they're taking your salary and my salary and the
Like, all
cost
right,
of a
yeah, zero
house.
percent.
Yeah,
Mix it with
zero,
the one,
50, and it somehow comes up to
yeah.
8%, but like it doesn't make any sense because I can't think of one thing. The steaks that I used to get at Costco used to be like $45. Now they're $65.
What kind of steaks you getting? Getting the
New
good
York
stuff?
strip? Yeah.
How much is that a pound?
So I don't know I'm not a pound guy. I'm
Really?
like
I
a
go per pound.
because I'm a Costco guy.
But
Costco guys, you just think total value.
yeah. I go crazy on the per pound sometimes.
But it's just like I mean that's not 5%. Like the only thing that might be 5% are the things that are literally straight poison that I don't buy, like cereal and
Like there's yeah,
I'm
again,
sure
there's certain stuff that the prices
DD,
don't change as much, and then they'll
DDT
include that
is
into
probably the same price.
right, like oh, DDT prices have decreased since
Yeah,
people found out it created polio, so we're
yeah.
gonna include that with home prices and call it 5%.
Enriched flour is probably still the same price.
Yeah, because we haven't gotten the word out yet, but we
Yeah,
will. All right, so I feel like we have a good understanding of how this works. Like,
yeah,
okay, that's literally how it works.
yeah,
How the money system works is clearly like 100% completely fake
yep,
and made up, which is equally like depressing and like shocking. And like everyone, like I feel like a lot of people know, yeah, like I put my money in the bank and they lend it out,
yeah.
and like everyone's kind of fine with that. But I think
Because the money's guaranteed.
people don't understand,
But the guarantee, if they lose that money,
right?
then just leads to
But also
inflation. Then
the
your 50K is actually
right,
worth
people don't understand that part,
25K.
and also like we like in he even said like the guarantee here isn't a real guarantee
Yeah.
anymore because now without any reserves, if everyone went at once to get their money,
Yes.
they don't have the money to back it up. So the
Yeah.
only way they'd be able to pay is just by creating
More
more
money.
debt.
Yes.
So like it's really fake. Like it's
Yeah.
not even just like a little bit fake anymore.
Yeah.
Where like you had like I think an example he used was like 10% reserve.
Yeah.
In which case, if you put $1,000 in JP Morgan, they
Yeah.
keep 10% there for you. They loan out 900,
Yeah.
and then the next one is they keep 10% there, and then the next person can loan out $810, and
Yeah.
you can only go like nine levels down.
Yeah.
This is like literally fake, where there's no end to it.
Yeah.
It's just a circle of interest.
And the way that they explain it is like they don't even really try to explain it. Like I kind of remember when this whole
Hmm.
started it was right after COVID. Like right after people started freaking out that everyone was going to die and they realized that people aren't going to die. Then all of a sudden shortly after that there was just massive inflation to the point where like people talked about it for a while but didn't really realize it.
Hmm.
And then all of a sudden, when you started trying to buy stuff, you started realizing it, and it kind of hit like one thing at a time. Like
Yep.
first, it was the housing market. Then all of a sudden, it was like there was no houses for sale, and the ones that were for sale were just being driven up to prices that seemed astronomical.
Hmm.
And it like what I think maybe happened, again, this is just prediction here, that either one of two things, right? Like in order for the houses to go the way that they did, especially because a million people died. So if a million people in the United States died during COVID,
Some would say way more.
there should be yeah, there should be, let's say conservatively 300,000 houses that are now on the market because their
Hmm.
owners just died. So there should be 300,000, maybe 500,000 extra houses. So the house price should have actually went down because like a million people died.
Yeah, no.
But
Yeah.
the complete opposite happened, and I think what happened was potentially after reading this book, before reading the book, I thought the banks just bought up all the houses and then naturally inflated the prices
Hmm.
so that people would have to pay it. Because if the banks own all these houses and they all get together and secretly say, like, we're selling
Because you need a
houses.
mortgage, so then they're earning interest
Exactly.
on
Like,
that.
we're selling them for more money now. Like, it is what
They're
it is.
yeah,
Yeah. Like, that was
they're
my
playing
original
both
thing.
sides of it,
Yes.
literally.
And then after reading this book, I almost think what happened is like a bunch of people were just like, we could all die at any minute. Let's pull our money out of the bank and buy a beach house or buy some other second property that like our family can at least enjoy the last couple of years that we have together before COVID kills everyone. And like they didn't have enough money for everyone to just like pull their $700,000 out of the bank to buy a second house. So they had to print $700,000 to give to the people to buy the second house. And then that just kind of led to massive inflation because they said that
Well, what
like they were like
else?
COVID money. They're like, oh, we gave you guys $1,000 each. And it's just like $1,000 each doesn't give me
Well,
enough
yeah,
money to then buy a $50,000 car from $30,000.
but even more than the COVID money was the other COVID money.
The loans.
So if you remember, the world shuts down.
Yeah.
People can't run their businesses. Everyone's freaking out. They're like, Congress, president, everyone is like, this is an emergency.
Yeah.
We need to take emergency measures to make sure that everyone is good.
Yeah.
We're gonna give all these small businesses loans, PPP loans.
Yeah.
And I wish this guy wrote this book after COVID because he
Yeah.
would have loved COVID
Yeah.
because it's maybe the best example. Because we'll get into it,
We
but
gotta find out where this guy's talking. And
that's why I Googled him. Like he's 94. Like he needs to be um like we would
he
have
might
him
be
on this
just, yeah,
podcast,
he
but I was
might
like, we
be
need to
just
get
old
him
enough.
on a podcast
Yeah.
that people will listen
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
because we need
He might
to
be
get this
just
message
old
out.
enough to be tricked into coming on our podcast.
Yep.
Like 94 is like that's the
We
age
can
that
go
we
to
might,
him
yeah, we might actually
in
have a
the
shot
hospital.
at getting him on. Yeah.
Um, so everyone's like, if I'm a small business owner, I can't pay my employees
Yeah.
because we're shut down right now because it's such an emergency.
But didn't you have to pay back the PPP loan or no?
So
With inflation.
right.
Yeah.
So how do they get the money for the PPP loans? They just
Print it.
create it out of nothing.
Yeah.
They give all this money to everyone. That's now new money into the economy, so it goes in the banks and goes
Yeah.
through our whole process and everything like that. If you were one of the big, if you were COVID safe, like if you were at Costco or
Yeah.
Amazon, you could stay open and that was
Yeah.
cool. But if you were a regular person who, isn't able to handle these types of things,
Yeah.
you were able to get a loan.
Yeah.
So now during COVID, the government creates trillions of dollars
Yeah.
to do it. And then what do we see 2, 3 years later? The
Massive
inflation
flip.
comes.
Yeah.
Massive inflation comes.
Yeah.
Egg prices, gas prices, house prices,
Yeah.
everything goes through the roof.
Because
The
even
money
though
that you earned 10 years ago,
now they pay it back,
right,
the PPP loans,
yeah,
but they pay
you're
it back to
by
the
earning
banks.
money
Yeah.
through your business that you're working hard to do. It's like you go to work every day and you're a small business owner and
Yeah.
you're selling cherry pies
Yeah.
and you're trying to make ends meet. You get an extra dollar per cherry pie
Yeah.
and to pay back that loan. But you don't have enough money to pay back that loan with only an extra dollar per cherry pie. You got to raise the price of your cherry pie now. $15 per pie. So I got to give $7 per pie back to pay this loan that I'm hard working earning.
So
That the
that
government
answers,
made out of nothing
yes.
to
Okay.
to
So that
literally
actually answers my next question, which was it seemed like almost like systematically one business after the other up their price, but
right.
it really wasn't that. It was one business after another realized that they couldn't pay back their loans at this
I'm gonna go
price.
under.
I need to charge
I
more
need to
money.
start raising my prices or I'm gonna go under. All the
Unless
people
you're a DDT producer.
all the people look at the businesses, say these greedy pigs
Yeah.
charging me more and more every time. Every week I go, they're charging me more. I did the same thing with the haircut place. I said, $40 for a haircut. I can do this myself.
You started tipping
I
yourself.
started buying hats, but it's not necessarily their fault.
Nah,
Like they can't operate
by paying
given
both.
the model because now they're stuck with this loan that they got essentially forced into
It's also
because
crazy
COVID
too,
came out of
because they
nowhere that they
also,
didn't want to shut
yeah,
down.
they also didn't even need to shut down. That's the
They didn't need to
craziest
shut
part.
down because the liquor store next door was open.
So the, yeah, it
You
was.
know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like,
yeah. This is
so that goes into the whole
where,
COVID debate. But
yeah,
again, a crisis created out of nothing
yes,
in order to give Congress a reason to print all of this money
yes,
and just trap everybody into paying for it in the long run is so diabolical.
yeah. So
It's impressive.
it is the conspiracy debate that I was talking about before. Is did they know all this going into it?
Mm.
Or was there a moment of like good-heartedness where they were just like all these restaurants and haircut places are going to go under and they're going to be in debt and they're going to be screwed because they risked their fortune by taking out a loan and starting some haircut place, and like they're going to be screwed now that,
It's so
it's like
diabolical. Like you have to take this loan because you can't pay your employees, and then you have to feel bad because you have like
yes,
people that rely on you. Like you have four employees, and they
yes.
feed their family with the
Or do you think the
salary. Like
government, they're like
it's
sitting around in a room being like, we're
so.
going to keep Amazon open, we're going to keep Costco open because they're good donors to us,
Okay,
but we're going to close every mom and pop store. But wait, we're not going to let them get under. We're going to give them a free
we're gonna
loan.
save them.
Yes, we're going to save them with this
We're
PPP loan.
so good.
Yes, but like this PPP loan isn't actually going to save them. What it's going to do is make them raise their prices so they can pay us back for the loan. Society will keep functioning, prices will slowly
Mhm.
rise, we'll get extra money and we'll get the money back.
Right. I mean, if you're working, and 10 years ago you started to like save money,
Yeah.
that money is almost worthless now because it can't like you saved $100 10 years ago,
Yeah.
and you thought that $100 could buy X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
Now that same thing costs $500.
Yeah.
So
Which
like
is,
you're the one getting
yeah.
kind of screwed. But it's a perfect transition your point into like, are they doing this on purpose
Yes,
or not?
yes.
And
Like
so I think the
the
next
degree
thing
of
that we should talk about
conspiracy.
here,
Yes.
because I think he did a good job explaining this, and I'd heard of this literally randomly the week before on a podcast
Yeah.
from, I gotta give him credit, Curtis Yarvin.
What a name.
What a name. He's like very controversial, I think,
Yeah.
but he was like he wrote under this like pseudonym for a while, and then
Which we know we like from Turtles.
yeah, he wrote under Mencius Moldbug.
Like if you're, that's also what a quite a name.
That's quite a name, and he essentially like coined like a bunch of different terms like red pill, and he was like the one of the first people to put a lot of things in. And he just happened to be on a podcast I was watching,
Yeah.
and he was start talking about the Fabians,
Okay.
and then it came up in this book.
Yeah.
So I want to give
Which is like again, like this has happened now a few times where like we're watching a podcast and something comes up in the book that is
it's awesome being so
like
smart
also
now.
yeah,
It's
like
awesome.
what was that in the the road to Ulysses with Carl that he mentioned what was the potion that they drank? Do you remember the name of it?
Call
It was
the
like
fact that we made it an hour and
the
15 minutes,
Kykeon. The
like yeah,
Kykeon.
without talking about call is
That is impressive, yeah. They like mentioned the Kykeon in that book, and like I'd only heard it once before on like a Hamilton Morris podcast
it comes up the stuff.
with that weird, like he was the weirdest guy ever. But it's just like that makes you feel so smart that someone can mention something like the Kykeon, and you're just like, I
Yeah,
know what that is.
like sure.
Yeah,
What about it?
yeah. Oh,
Um,
you mean the potion that Jesus used to drink, or
right, right.
made up of kids' blood? Yeah, I know it.
Yeah, got it.
Yeah.
Um, so
But sorry, go ahead.
the people,
Yeah,
the Fabians. So essentially, right, like we have this fake money society now. Like, how did we get there?
yeah.
So early 1900s. This is where it gets like dark.
Don't kill me. I gotta pee again, though.
All right, let me.
But I do want to hear about the Fabians because I kind of
Yeah,
missed that in the book.
yeah,
So
go.
give maybe a overview of the Fabians
Well,
or find
we're
something.
gonna make it work.
Yeah.
We're gonna figure out what to talk about. I gave it. This is the second P, which is he's right. Was really a product of the glass of wine and the coffee that he's currently drinking. As he prepares, I think he's in a pickleball tournament later, so he's we're on a time constraint here today, which is something we don't normally have, which probably leads to our 3 hour plus episodes that based on the viewership, I'm not too worried about the length here, but essentially what I want to get into next, and I do want him to be here for it, is it really shows how like oh like is this really something that's planned or is this just like how it happened because a series of lawmakers came about and they each tacked on a few laws and nobody really thought through it and we kind of just ended up in this place. I think what I'm about to try to walk through is try to explain how that's actually not what happens. This is very well thought out plans that are laid out decades ago, century ago, and you could literally follow what these people are saying and get to today. And it's like it's not in secret. It's a, all right. So this is perfect timing.
All right.
I teased it.
Yeah.
Um. So like, how do we get here?
Yeah.
Is it just
Rothschilds.
because things happen and this is where we are now, or is it like a plot that was contrived and planned and executed? Like I think that's what we need to get to the bottom.
I think it's somewhere in the middle, which I think most things typically are, right? So like I think most things are created out of I want to say like good in some way, but then you get a few bad apples that find a way to take advantage of the system.
So I'm here to tell you, you couldn't be more wrong. And this is where the Fabians come in.
Hmm.
So, early 1900s, communism is going around. People must walk by and be like, what are these two people doing?
Do you know those feeling
No,
that
no,
he's really
not at all.
concerned about that?
He's like, is this a, because no one is like, they're doing a podcast.
No,
Like, it's
not
just,
about
this is
books either.
not about books, not about the Fabians. So, communist is kind of a thing early 1900s.
Yeah.
At one point, like it's super cool to be a communist. Like it's like you're in a leather jacket, you're smoking cigarettes, like you're kind of
Oppenheimer was a communist.
you're against the grain,
Yeah.
you're kind of badass. Like you're
Yeah.
like aloof, you're doing your thing. And then stuff in the world starts happening with communism where like, like Russia
Yeah.
and people start to realize like, oh, communism is really bad.
The principle itself makes a ton of sense.
For sure.
You take the wealth that people have earned, you take it, you split it up evenly amongst the people.
Sounds good. So,
But again, that I think fits my theory. That
commun
it's like you start with something that like is good, right? But then it gets manipulated and turned into something else by a few bad apples.
so communism falls out of favor.
Yeah.
People start to realize, okay, maybe this isn't so good. You have a whole wave, a generation of what they call, he didn't even mention this part in the book, red diaper babies.
Yep.
This is people who were born to parents who were like communists.
Yeah.
This whole like kind of new wave. And their take was, we like communism. Sounds good.
Yeah.
People don't like it right now.
Yeah.
One day, communism just goes away. No one defeated it. There wasn't like a debate about it. It was just kind of gone.
Yeah.
And what these people did was they created a secret society called the Fabians.
Mhm.
They were democratic socialists. What their whole thing was is that they wanted to spread communism, but in a different way than communists were trying to do it.
Yeah.
Communists try to spread communism through violence.
Hmm.
And it wasn't working because people would be like, yo, what the F?
Yeah.
Like, no, I don't want that. I don't want to give all my money to the state, blah, blah, blah. I worked hard for it. So they said, let's do it secretly.
Yeah.
We're going to secretly impose these democratic socialist, new name for communism, theories into society.
So I do have
So
that. Let me find it.
the Fabians' literal logo is a wolf in sheep's clothing. Like
Okay.
you literally can't make this up. Like
Yeah.
that, this is what they're doing.
Yeah.
So like, okay, who were the Fabians? It was all of the early 1900s folks that were setting economic policies. So you have John Maynard Keynes.
Yeah.
If you take an economics class, day one, they say this is Keynesian economics. This is what we follow here in America. This is like the basic economics of
Yeah.
like how things should be.
Yeah.
Fabian.
Okay. He
Fabian.
was a Fabian.
Fabian.
Wow.
So essentially, these are the people who, and we'll get into what they did. Essentially, literally had a plot
Yeah.
to put this into practice in society secretly, and they were like really, really high up people that had an impact.
So that's one of my notes in this book, kind of randomly, because that he didn't go into like crazy detail. Did you look a lot of this up on your own?
Some of this was from the podcast I listened to.
And some of it was kind of added on.
Some of it was from the book, but
Okay.
there's more
So from the
from the book. But
book,
I want to just pause there for a second because that let that settle in,
no,
folks.
that like struck me, which is why I wrote it down, because I didn't write down that many things. But one of the things I wrote down is communism became social democrats. Not gone, just changed names.
Boom. Two people wrote it.
Yeah.
Has to be true.
So it's in the book. Because
But
we
no,
probably say a lot of things that aren't even in these
like I
books.
think, and I think this stuff is like not yet controversial.
Yeah.
Like I think that's just like Wikipedia. Like you can Google that.
Yeah.
Like I think. Should I keep going?
Yeah.
So then you have the Bretton Woods Conference.
Okay.
That's what all the Fabians kind of got together, started to plan things out.
I do kind of.
So essentially, at this um, conference, they create the IMF and the World Bank.
Yeah.
IMF's the International Monetary Fund. It's supposed to promote cooperation on money supply between countries.
Yeah.
Essentially, like Federal Reserve for the world. And the World Bank is supposed to provide loans to war-torn countries to help them rebuild.
Yeah.
So that all sounds okay. That all sounds pretty good. We have to remember is that these Fabians, like, what their main world goal is to have like a one world government. Like they want like one world communism.
Which he talks
Government
about a lot in the book.
talks about a lot in the book. Um, and then they kind of were also they push really hard to move everyone off of the gold standard.
Why is that though? Like, why would they want a one world government? if they're essentially controlling the world already because they're the ones with all the money,
Mm.
like they can already buy. This is the thing that I don't understand about certain things. It's like, like if I was Elon Musk
It's
and
yeah,
I
it's
had
that
a
debate.
$1 trillion,
Yep.
the last thing I'm gonna do is have a job.
I was gonna say last thing I'm gonna do is go to work the next day.
Yeah. And
Like
like not only does he have one job, it's seven jobs.
yeah,
And it's
yeah.
just like it's the complete opposite. And it's like then the debate becomes like, well, that's why you're not Elon Musk, is because like you want to sit around, drink wine, and do podcasts like that. But it's just like, all right, yeah, that's fair. That's why I'm not him. And
100%.
like he's a harder worker than I am. But it's just like, do you think he ever like wakes up in the morning and is just like, why am I working so hard? Like I already like in the Fabians too, it's like, what are we why do we want a world power so bad?
I think we could tie this back to In Cold Blood, like Dick and Perry.
Okay.
Like, Ken, why did they like what's driving people to do things?
Yeah.
It's like a
For them though, they thought it was money. They pret- they really genuinely, I think, thought it was money.
right,
Like,
like
and then he talks about a life of like skin diving in
right, but
Mexico
yeah,
with
but like
Simon
how
Cowell.
and like all the things that lead up in their lives to like
Yeah,
that point where they're murdering people, like versus like these people who become billionaires. Like
yeah.
you have to be like a
Billionaire to understand what it's like to
you're
be a billionaire.
almost like not doing it for money. You're
Nah.
probably doing it for like ego,
Yes.
power,
Yeah.
control. Maybe you really like it and you're interested in it if you're
Yeah.
lucky and it turns big and you
But it
become a
feels like a
billionaire.
lot of this stuff is about money.
Power, control, money. But so to tie back,
Yeah,
all this stuff that they're doing is essentially under the guise of we're doing this for the greater good.
of course. Yeah.
Just so that's anything that we'll talk about has the backdrop of like we're doing this to help everyone because
Yeah.
we want to. So it always just sounds like hey, this is like really good things.
Fed Reserve. We don't want you guys to lose all your money,
Hmm.
your hard work money that you put in a bank, So like we're gonna make it FDIC insured, so you know that it's always gonna be there.
Not real insurance doesn't
No,
mean anything.
we make up a
Yep.
name and
So at this conference, they convinced everyone essentially to move off of the gold standard, which we should have talked about before. Like if you have a gold standard, essentially your currency is backed by something.
yeah,
So you
yeah.
can't just like keep creating more and more and more. So
That's the history of money was like great. That was a great
mm,
chapter early in the
yes.
book where he talks about how like there was one civilization that actually made their currency tied to some metal.
Hmm.
And because like the production and all that doesn't change dramatically and there's only a finite amount, there was pretty much like in that civilization, I forget what it was called, but there was like zero inflation in 800 years.
Yeah.
Versus like when we think about us, like in the last 100 years, from like 1926
I mean
to
it's
2026. Is that
it,
1,000 years? No, 100 years.
mm,
Yeah, 100 years. Like the inflation is insane. Like it
yeah.
makes me think that it's 1,000 years because like when you think about like buying like a,
Yeah.
a
Don't change
gumball
it.
for a penny or a house for like 50K. Like I know my grandma, like she bought like a house like in a nice area. Obviously, she got lucky at probably with the area because nothing was
Mhm.
probably nice in 1950. But
Exactly.
like the house, I think was like 50K,
Yep.
and then the beach house she bought was 200K.
Yeah. This was in the 40s. The last time
Yeah,
that was someone bought it.
I think she sold it for 60K. I mean 600K, the beach house, and then now it's over a million
It's insane.
inflation.
Yeah. Um.
But yeah,
So yeah, you're 100% right, and we may have to back up a little bit, but I want to keep going on the Fabians for a second,
yeah,
and we'll get back to like the gold standard and why that might be important. So then they say, hey, we're doing this all for the greater good. And how do they like start to enact this secretly
yeah,
in a way into society so people don't know that they're living in a literal communist country?
yeah,
They start to enact social programs, and you can do this at like the country scale or on the world scale.
yeah.
So you can say the World Bank is going to give a loan to a third world country
Talks a lot about that.
that maybe was just out of war or for some other reason. And this loan is for the greater good of people because this third world country that needs some help is going to get a bunch of money
Yeah,
and they're going to be able to
rebuild
um,
their society.
invest, rebuild their
Yeah,
society. So what actually happens is third world country, the
They don't
leaders
they don't ever
take
rebuild it.
some off the top.
Yeah.
They don't invest any
Yeah.
of it, essentially, or they mismanage it in a way where they're instituting like these social practices and they're not able to regenerate the cash to pay back the loan. So they default on the loan. So what happens when you default on a loan? IMF steps in,
Gives
creates
them.
money out of
Yeah.
nothing, gives them money to repay the loan, so that way that they can continue interest payments to the banks that originally gave them this loan. So now these loans are fully guaranteed by everyone, and the bank is just making interest that is 100% guaranteed. The
Yeah.
riskier the country, the
Yeah.
better, because you charge a higher interest rate. And there's no risk because you're going to get paid from the IMF anyway. So you don't have to, if you live in a world with a gold standard, you have to make sure that who you're loaning money to is going to be able to pay you back. And that's how you be a good bank. You say, I need to make sure all of this money is going to
Yeah.
come
It's
back
got
to
to
me
be
at
a sound
some
investment.
day.
Yeah.
Once you take that out, the riskier the better. The
Yeah.
higher the interest rate, the better, because it's going to be guaranteed.
Yeah.
So now you're putting all these horrible loans into practice. It's creating a hidden world of socialism,
And also inflation. That was one of my notes is
inflation for the world.
that the World Bank is giving these like third world countries billions of dollars. And like half that money is like taxpayer money from the United States and England. So it's like they give these like third world countries like I don't know,
Ethiopia.
yeah, $1 billion to start some like oil rig.
Like,
And then all that happens
they have
is
no like
no, they have no
ability to do that.
understanding of it. The people that they hire like aren't experts in it. It's like if they were experts in it and they were like entrepreneurs and like intelligent in it, they would have done it already without the billion of dollars. You know, they would have like any business, they would have started mining and then grown it gradually over time. But it says it never works out because of infrastructure, that it's like you're giving them $1 billion for a bunch of people that don't have any experience in running $1 billion
They're
company.
probably not even asking for this money.
Yeah, and
Like
then
they just want to
yes,
they want to find a way to get a loan
yes.
like this so that they can get paid for it.
And then also like it says it doesn't work out because of fraud and politics. So it's like you give the money to Ethiopia and whatever
Super
regime is
corrupt leader.
yes, yeah, it takes half of it and then gives the other half for them to start this business. And then, you know, when it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. And they can either give them more money or they can just cut ties and invest somewhere else. But it doesn't matter for them. Like it just leads to more inflation because they get their money back because it's all guaranteed anyway from the Federal Reserve,
100%.
which is just crazy.
Yep.
Like there was something where it was like I think we first went $1 trillion in debt. Like it took us like 70 years or something to get $1 trillion in debt. And then now it's like we averaged like $1 trillion
Yeah,
every
no,
like
it's like
quarter or something.
insane.
Like,
Yeah, it took like so then all right, Ethiopia.
yeah,
This is where it starts to get dark. All right, people of Ethiopia aren't going to be cool with this. Like clearly they can see what's going on here. So what do you do? How do you get the people of Ethiopia to be so reliant on the government that they don't know what's happening or are able to revolt in a certain way that's like, hey, my government is getting this money, taking some for themselves,
yeah,
and then doing nothing with it and not
yeah,
like repaying it back. They literally would plan starvations. So that way, the people in Ethiopia would be so reliant on the government. The government's the only one now that can give them
give you
money.
food and money. Yeah,
You literally have now just implemented a world socialism
yeah,
because now people of these countries are reliant only on the government
yeah,
for food. So you have to keep funding that government with
yeah,
money that they can't pay back, that you're going to create out of nothing. The bank is going to earn a lot of interest on,
yeah,
and that country is worse off than when you started a
yeah,
social program
yeah.
to make this country better. And it's happened in every single
And
country around the world
it
that
is. Yeah.
we've tried these social programs are just worse and worse and
And it's
worse.
crazy because they would have found their way somewhere else. Like I think he brings up like Russia in the example that like
Hmm.
Russia, because of where they are location wise, that like they would not be able to farm well enough to provide their country with food. So then they become dependent on imports of food from other countries. And those imports come with loan agreements and all this other stuff, and money's changing hand like crazy. Like Russia was a really involved as one of the countries that we give. Is that your next note? Oh, okay, I thought you were pointing
It's
to.
No, I wasn't
But
playing.
like
But
Russia,
I have one last thing that's similar to what you're saying right now.
yeah, is just like one of those countries that it's like he's made it seem like we're giving a lot of money to Russia, which is very strange.
So similar as China.
Yeah, China too.
So China, I think, was the biggest or one of the biggest borrowers from the IMF. So we give all this money to China,
Yeah.
saying these are social programs in China. This is for them to.
Which is like not known
It's
because
made
like
up.
what's being told to the people, or at least what I thought about our relationship with China was like not a good one.
So I
That like we're
this
most
is
afraid
the
of like China and Russia.
this is the
And it turns out
world
we're giving them all this money.
again, and this is like the world version of this
But
now.
like we are,
But we are the biggest. The
yes,
U.S. is the biggest funder of the IMF.
yes,
So they make up these. Essentially, I'm saying make up, but like we're gonna do a program in China for them to like find a green ways to refine their coal.
yeah,
So right, this is for the greater good. Like this is for the environment. It's like
yeah,
super important.
yeah,
The Chinese government gets it,
yeah.
doesn't give a goddamn crap about doing
Communist.
what they said they
Yeah,
were going to do with
yeah,
it. They don't invest it in their own industry or in their citizens. They fund their military
yeah.
and then they buy land in other countries.
And then
So like we're literally funding China to
yeah,
build up its military and buy US land.
yeah,
Like we're literally funding our own enemy and our own demise in the name of the greater good. Like this is for the best because like they're gonna do this and fix the thing.
so
It is just a way to spread the wealth from one country to the other and back, and
yes,
then it all spreads out. One world government.
yeah. And I think like the way that he kind of paints it in the book is that because like I remember reading that and just thinking like, why would we be giving money to China and Russia and then turning around and then telling the people your biggest threat is China and Russia? And it's just another way to distribute money throughout politics and politicians. That, when we do that, when we sell the idea that Russia's our biggest threat, one, we're giving them $1 billion. That $1 billion then is guaranteed as a loan. So it's like we're doing it as like a relationship thing. But it's also like in reality, if it doesn't work out, it doesn't matter that it doesn't work out because then
Almost better if it doesn't.
yeah, because then we'll just pay ourselves back the $1 billion that we loan them. We'll print $1 billion and then give it to ourselves. And then it's like the
We'll
only
give
people
it
that
to them so that they
yeah,
can keep paying us
yeah,
interest.
more loan and interest that they have no intention of paying. It is like it's shocking, but it's also like I don't know, like the stuff in this book like fits so well with what he was saying. Like we had mentioned before that like he talks about like Iran as just as an example. Like in this book, he just goes like as an example, like a great country to loan to is Iran because the dysfunction is so crazy that
Energy.
yes, that it's like you can essentially
You could say they're creating all this oil, they have all these
and
things.
that people are so afraid of Iran because they're like a scary country because of the past in the Middle East and all that stuff that like people will support it that like people support maybe what we're doing. Like this was 2010, like we just bombed Iran a
We're in
couple
a
of weeks
war. We're
ago.
in a war right now
Yeah,
for something.
yeah,
I
I don't
don't
know.
know what,
No,
but
nobody told me about it.
from this book, I think we know what. And what I, so I think it's a good time. There's another
It's
good
essentially
transition.
just a great country to launder money from
Right,
our banks to the government, back to the government, back to the
right.
banks,
So at the end of the book,
and cause mass
he kind
inflation.
of talks about like, how does the people who are doing this, keep the cycle going?
I think we got to
Historically,
talk about the Rothschilds
I think
too.
that's the transition.
Okay,
This is
yeah,
it. This is it. So like historically, it's been war.
yeah,
So like you can rile up the people during wartime, and they're like very cool with you printing money during wartime
yeah.
because they're like, "F
We
yeah,
need the
we
money.
need it."
Yeah,
F,
we need to
F
fund our
those people.
military. Yeah,
Over time, he kind of said, and this is just to tie back to the Iran war. He's kind of said war like it doesn't always work because everyone's not going to always get riled up for every war.
yeah.
Like we need to like they found other ways to do it, and like the environment's a really good way to do it because you can rile up everyone about this we're just doing this to save
Yes. And
humanity.
he said the scarier the better. So
This
like
how
Places like Iran, places like North Korea.
right. So if you say to people in America, Iran um is has all this oil, but is super pollutive, which is a word,
Hmm.
to the world. We need to make these investments to help Iran get cleaner oil, so that way it's better for the environment. So we sent all this money to Iran. Then this is an example of the Rothschild method, which we're about to explain. Then we sent all this money to Iran, social program for the greater good to help them get cleaner oil. Then we say Iran is about to get a nuclear bomb, guys. Listen to me and listen close. We gotta attack them. So we go and we just bomb every single oil thing that we were just funding. And now we are like that's so essentially the Rothschild method is playing both sides of a war. So now we have money to Iran that they're not going to be able to pay back because we just bombed all of their oil crap, of course. So now those loans aren't going to get repaid. So that gives a chance for the Federal Reserve to print more money to give to our U.S. government, to give to Iran, so they can pay the banks back
Yeah,
while we bomb them
I
and
know.
send our people there to die for something that most 90% of the people in the U.S. don't even know why we're doing it.
Also, I got a
For the reason
tremendous amount of coffee grounds in my mouth. Hold on.
just when I'm hitting the big point. Um, so essentially, like that's like a common, literally current day example of what's going on. And I think the next best thing for us to get into is like Rothschild method, and then how it was used in examples: Civil War, World War One, World War Two,
Yeah.
etc.
So that's yeah, that's where it goes next. Is he talks
I
about
thought
the
we just figured out the
Rothschilds
Iran
formula.
War. I was a little bit going into this. I wouldn't have known
No,
why we're in Iran, and now I think I just explained it, which is actually wild. Do you need water?
I love how pumped I was about like my gym selling coffee. Like I don't know if you can see, and that's like after I dumped it out, like the amount of coffee grinds that were in my mouth, and that was like not even like the end.
Do you need water?
Nah, I think I'm alright. I'm just gonna swallow a few, hopefully.
That'll help give you more energy if you swallowing the whole coffee grinds.
But yeah, hopefully that's not bad for you because I just swallowed a bunch of them.
Do you do you want me to start in Rothschild method?
Yeah, so the first thing
Wait,
I
so,
have is just um essentially playing both sides of the war. They
yeah.
mentions the Rothschilds formula as far as like funding both sides of the war. It pretty much just guarantees payment back.
Yep.
And then
Essentially it creates more opportunities for loans.
yeah,
So that way the government could create money, banks can get the interest. So that's
yeah,
why, banks are very interested in pushing like more narratives.
yeah. And then he said like the scarier the enemies, the better. He said like Iran is one of the best money can buy. Exact quote.
Wow.
Which is just like again when and like this is not the first book,
It's
and
like a
this
George
is
Friedman type of
yeah,
prediction.
it is. It's like and like Amy just said this, and like I mean she's so right. It's just like history. Like the only thing you can guarantee is that it repeats itself.
And no one can remember because
Anything.
2 weeks ago, I was saying the other day, all anyone could talk about was Epstein.
I know.
And then the Iran war starts. No one's talking about Epstein anymore.
I
Everyone's
know.
talking about the war. And
But
it's like that quick, everyone
but it's
forgets.
it's even like so corrupt though that it's like they don't even really talk about Epstein. Like maybe one
Oh, well,
reporter
yeah. Well,
asked one question and like that was one of my favorite things ever is like I think I heard Shane Gillis talk about it where it's just like, someone asks Trump about Epstein and he just goes like, "You guys are still talking about that?"
yeah, like,
And
that's
like,
the only thing we're talking
yeah, and
about.
it's just like we're still talking about that like some government, some
Like,
like
oh, the satanic pedophile ring
yeah,
that's controlling everything in the
yeah,
world. You guys are still
yeah.
talking about that? Like,
Like
yeah,
it's
I think we had a
utterly
few
hilarious. Yeah,
questions.
this dude was like a trillionaire meeting with like Bill Clinton and
Yeah.
all of our best
Not even college
scientists.
educated, but somehow every
Yes,
billionaire needed his tax
gave him
advice.
$1 billion.
Right, and
Like,
like, here's my money, here's my power of
yes,
attorney.
yeah,
Come on.
yeah. Like, literally didn't have a college degree, and some like billionaire was just like, "You're gonna take over this company from me."
And
Like,
every single billionaire.
yeah,
Oh,
it is. It's crazy, but
we
yeah, I
could do
mean,
a whole Epstein.
we could, but yeah,
So
that is,
Rothschild, born in Germany. Rothschild in German,
yeah,
red, Rothschild.
Oh yeah, because they all have the shield thing.
I like that. His family symbol was a red shield.
And then five of them because he had five sons.
And then he had like five, what was it, like five swords or five birds or something?
I
Or
think he
lions?
had five kids.
Yeah, but then in this logo, it was a red shield and there was like five.
Oh, something else.
It was like
Yeah.
a lion maybe or a sword. It was five somethings.
Yeah.
I did like the like
No, I do remember that, but I forget what it was.
red shield.
And like all five of his sons, also five sons, I think, which is pretty crazy.
Right, like
No
I'm sure he
girls.
had some daughters that didn't.
Oh, you don't think? You think?
I have no idea, but I'm just talking the odds here. And but essentially, he moved to England and
Yeah.
he started to become powerful in
Banking.
the banking world and lending money. And he was essentially him and his sons were some of the first people to use this method that we just described, where it was like you're essentially funding both sides of some conflict or
Yeah.
something,
Knowing that it's a conflict, like
and
that isn't a
and
debate.
needing it to be a conflict
Yeah.
in order to fund both sides and make money from it.
Yeah.
So essentially, wanting for like
Yeah.
to use a nice word before we get too much into it, a conflict
Yeah.
to happen, not caring about the loss of lives or what is actually happening with the underlying people, but using it as a maneuver for you or him to make money as a family and then kind of gain power that way.
And again, conspiracy wise, like, are we saying that he wanted these countries to go to war so he can make more money because he knew that if they did, they would go to, like, he would make more money? Or is he just looking at it strictly from a monetary standpoint of that this is a good investment, and if it does happen in war, if it does happen to be a war, we'll be even better off for it? Like, that's the conspiracy aspect, is like, and I think the same thing is true for governments now. It's like, if you're gonna profit more, which is crazy that we do. Like, I mean, that's like not even debatable that like countries end up being better off after a war, unless they lose, than before the war. It like this Trump thing. Is he looking at the writing on the wall and just being like, "Holy shit, houses are $1.5 million now, and nobody can buy a house, and rent is like $2,000 for middle class people making $50,000 a year, and like, you know, and now the one thing that they had in their life was their Costco steaks that used to cost $45 are now $65, and they can't afford them anymore. It's like, do you think he's looking at that and being like, we need to go to war, like who's a good target? And then just like goes like, you like, not Ukraine anymore, but for a little while it
Mm.
was like Ukraine, Iran. And then he's just like, Iran, we're actually gonna bomb the crap out of Iran. Like, do you think that that's like just straight I don't want to say conspiracy, but like just the effect of like where we are and what's going on? Or do you think that things naturally escalated in Iran because they were building, like, again, it's the same story. It's the nuclear
Mm.
weapons again.
But
And they might have been.
if we're going to talk
They might
Iran
have-
specifically,
Yeah,
they have the government
yeah.
has been saying for over 40 years
They
that
can't have a nuclear
that
weapon.
Iran's about to get a nuclear weapon. They're
Yes.
about to do it. They're about to like
Yeah.
40 plus years. Like
Yeah.
when are they going to do it?
I know.
Like they're a few weeks away still.
And we did like, I think we bombed like their nuclear
It
site first,
it seemed like in this one
but that maybe could have been the
we're
end of it.
getting essentially like bullied into being in the war
Yeah.
by another country,
Yeah.
which is I can't fully understand how that can happen given the size differences between these two countries in question.
But do you think that it's more like, you think that it's
I
like 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 for this, like, it's being in a war is weirdly good financially. And it seems like Trump
for the
cares
people,
most.
not for like you and me.
It's
For
not
you and me,
great.
it's really
Nothing.
bad
Yeah.
because of all of this what we're talking about.
Yeah.
But from my understanding is I think those things that were happening is that we were funding social programs probably
Yeah.
in Iran maybe. And there were sanctions on Iran, so it makes it really hard to trace because I tried to trace it and I was like, I'm
Yeah.
gonna do this, what we're about to get into for World War I for
Okay.
Iran
Yeah,
this
okay.
week. I was like, I'm
Nice.
gonna do it.
Wow, I really like that from you.
I asked one question to Claude,
Yeah.
and it was like it's a lot harder now because they're a lot smarter,
Yeah.
and they do it through like shell companies, and
You can't just follow the money.
it's not just like a one direct investment. Like we'll get to like when we talk about World War II, the
Yeah.
example is like really obvious.
Like when Biden's son became the CEO of Ukraine.
Burisma,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like that
So in the
was
last few years, they got a lot smarter.
yeah, like that
But
was
like,
one
I'm
step away.
almost certain that that's what's happening based on this because people are doing it to make money because it doesn't make sense otherwise.
Yeah.
And then I think from like President Trump's perspective, the people around him are funded by these people, like the banks and whoever else is going to be making money off of this.
Yeah.
So like I've heard that people are showing him polls that like 90-10 people favor us getting into a war with Iran. But I think if you did a real poll, that's not the case. So I think,
Yeah, that's crazy.
right, like I think the right people have the right influence that are close, that are the people making these decisions. So like the people in Congress and government are the
Again, though,
ones that are printing the money.
you're giving that benefit of a
I,
doubt on the conspiracy
I'm
theory
giving
that it's
him,
like Trump's being somehow a little bit
but
manipulated.
I'm only giving him an out,
Yeah.
just the
Nobody else.
benefit of the doubt
Yeah.
for like because I gave him all, a lot of support.
Yeah.
It's not looking good,
No.
but that's like his out.
Yeah.
But for all the people around him that he did pick and
They
who have
don't get
just
it
people in
now.
Congress
Yeah.
who have been like war hawks forever, it's hard to say like they're not just doing it for like money
It's also a little
control.
bit weird that it was
And the
like
whole other country thing,
Trump's
which we can
first.
get into forever,
Yeah.
it just
Trump's.
doesn't make sense to me yet because it's like too blatantly obviously like, wait, what?
Well, it's also like his first term was maybe the first time I can ever remember us not being like involved in a war during my
Right,
lifetime.
like that was the whole
Yeah.
thing.
And
It's
then also
actually
though, like people literally were just like that was the biggest concern about like his first term was like people are just like he's gonna have us in a war with everyone.
right.
And
He's
then
in
we were in a war with nobody, and it was like the
right.
first
That's
time
what
that
makes
that
this one
had ever
so
happened.
weird. Like I'm still trying to figure out this one.
But even the Venezuela thing was weird, where it's just like,
But I was okay. I mean, again, I don't want to do anything,
yeah,
but at least it seemed like they were honest. They were like, "Yeah, we were doing it for the oil." Like, okay, like
yeah,
at least normally they would
good
make,
honesty,
yeah, like hey,
yeah.
be honest. We
But he
got
would
in and out.
he kind of lied a little bit at first, where he was talking about the drugs, where it's
Right,
like
right,
this
yeah,
guy's
for sure,
like
for sure,
literally essentially a cartel
for
member,
sure.
and it's just like,
But eventually, it
let's
was
be
like, "Yeah, we're doing it
honest,
for the oil."
yeah,
Cool.
like let's be honest, like you
Listen,
don't care about the
right,
people doing drugs from Venezuela.
right. So my,
In fact, we want to be doing drugs from Venezuela because we don't
yeah,
want to be doing drugs from here.
for sure. My take on like current event is like they ran on like make America great again and make America first,
Yeah,
which sounds really good to me. Like I'm open to the idea that I don't know enough about like international geopolitics to understand that like sometimes maybe we need a military base in XYZ country and I don't understand the benefit of that, so I'm willing to say like I don't get it, like I trust you, whatever.
but do you know enough
But
about the creature from Jekyll Island saying
but
Iran's a perfect target?
this Iran thing, given the fact that there's a second country involved,
Yeah,
it makes it to a point where I don't understand it. Like I
no.
can't
But the
um,
creature of Jekyll Island helps you understand it a little bit.
help me understand it.
Like,
I think I
mentions
earlier, I
Iran
think I got it.
by name.
Let's go through war by war,
Okay,
our history as a country,
love it.
and see if we can piece together. Because you said Trump, first term, no
Yeah,
wars.
yeah.
Everyone's cool. Everyone's like, all right, that was pretty chill. I appreciate that. Reminds me a little bit about old World War One.
I have that in my notes too. Go ahead.
So World War I, the story is Archduke of Serbia, I
Yeah,
think, Franz Ferdinand is shot.
yeah,
For some reason, people care,
yeah,
and we're gonna launch into the bloodiest, longest war, I think, in history up to that time, maybe
yeah.
ever still.
We tried to stay out of it
We try to stay out of it.
until the sinking of the Lusitania, I think.
So Woodrow Wilson
Yeah,
starts campaigning
yeah,
on I'm my first term, I kept us out of the World War I. I'm your no war president.
yeah,
That's me.
yeah,
While he's campaigning, he's secretly planning on a way to get the U.S. involved.
Of course.
The people around Woodrow Wilson, they talk about like this Colonel House guy a lot,
Yeah.
who I guess had a lot of influence. Like he lived in the White House with Woodrow Wilson,
Yeah.
and he had a lot of interest in like different countries. Was essentially, kind of scheming a way to get the U.S. involved in war.
Yeah.
So essentially, what they need is um, the public is against the war 10 to 1.
Yeah.
So they're like, hey, there's some war going on in Europe, especially then. Like Europe is like essentially Iran
Yeah.
then, because it's
We
like
need some
there's
way.
no like
Yeah.
connection that we kind of have now.
Yeah.
Um, so we need some way to get the U.S. involved,
Yeah.
and we need to have people's backing a little bit.
Especially because back then it's like you needed people to like sign up for the war.
Right.
You're like now we don't really even need people, which is why I don't think they even really tried anything with Iran. They just literally bombed them on a random Tuesday afternoon,
Right.
and they were just like, we're bombing Iran now because they don't need the people. Everything's technology based. But
Exactly.
back then they needed people to sign up for the war.
Yeah, again, like for your own self-preservation as like a politician, like it's better if you
To
can
have
have the
public
public
opinion.
support.
Yeah.
How you get there is what we're gonna get into. So essentially, like the accepted history that the U.S. entered the war to protect democracy. We're the good guys. We're the heroes.
Yeah.
Sound familiar to like every single thing that's ever happened in history before, right?
Yeah.
So that brings us to the Lusitania.
Love it.
So that's when the U.S. decides to enter the war. The Lusitania is a cruise ship,
Yeah.
just like a, what do you call it? Like a passenger ship.
Yeah.
Brings people on like vacations and stuff. That gets shot down.
So like backtrack a little bit. Churchill wants the United States involved in the war. So he's pretty much saying like, we got to get you guys involved in the war. And Woodrow Wilson, right,
Yep, yep.
was like, yeah, like we got to get our people behind this. So they kind of come up with this like literally scheme to like get the public support
Take
by
it down.
yes, by like having this cruise ship, the Lusitania. They sell the tickets for like incredibly cheap for them to be able to like transport from one place to another, leaving from the United States, going to like Europe,
Like a cruise.
like a cruise ship.
Sounds good.
And they literally say like it's not a warship, it's a just like it's all
Passenger ship.
civilians. Yep. Turns out they then like shut down one of the engines so it would go even slower. They like made the law that like they made some rule that like submarines like couldn't surface. So they essentially like couldn't see the ships that they were then gonna
So there was an agreement
hit.
between Germany and England that for ships like this, they
Yeah.
would let passengers like disembark
Yeah.
on lifeboats before they started to like just like shoot each other, I guess.
Yeah.
And Churchill decided to like cancel that rule and was like just see it and shoot it. So now
Yeah.
the German
Are doing the
U-boats,
same.
submarines aren't going to come up anymore.
Yeah.
They're going to just stay submerged, so
And
they
then
can't be
just like
seen.
shoot like a torpedo at that boat without knowing whether it's like a warship or not. Turns out that they then shot the Lusitania because it was pretty much just like a sitting duck in the water traveling like 75% its natural speed. And they literally wanted it to happen so that then the United States would feel like they need to be involved in the war. The United States then said like they shot this civilian boat. It was just a civilian boat and all this stuff. Years and years and years later, it turns out deep sea divers like went actually down at the Lusitania, and they found out there was like a bunch of like there was like 3,000 rounds of like ammunition being brought from the United States to England for the war efforts. So then they said like it's actually technically like it actually was like a military ship because it was bringing military equipment, but they put all civilian passengers on it to then like upset the public. It kind of reminds me a lot of like again, it's like how far are we going to get into these conspiracy theories, but it's like, 9/11. It just kind of reminds me of like where you need this event to happen where people are just like yes, like we need to go to war with Iraq. We need to put boots on the ground. Like, no matter how much money you need, we'll supply it. And again, it's like that level of
Hmm.
conspiracy that you want to go with it, which is like, was it a kind of happy coincidence that that happened and then allowed the politicians to do what they had wanted to do before that, which is go to war with them, you know? Like it's this very like it's history is weird with that stuff and it's like how far do you want to go into that conspiracy range? And it's like I'm not ready to fully commit to every conspiracy theory ever,
For sure.
but some of them are unequivocally true and some of them are, chess pieces that like based off of everything that we have from history and based off of what this guy wrote in the book. And again,
Let me add
not,
a few more pieces to World War One,
yeah,
and then tell me if you think
it was
conspiracy
an accident.
theories
Yeah,
or it just happened to happen, right? So we talked about the rule change.
yeah,
Maybe Churchill did that intentionally, maybe not. We talked about the engine. They were running at like a quarter of the speed that it normally runs at.
yeah,
Makes it a lot easier target for a
yes,
U-boat. They were talked about just a passenger ship. They loaded it with ammo.
yeah,
Germany knew it was loaded with ammo.
yeah.
Germany knew it was
But it was
coming.
never publicized like at the time. Like this was
Germany,
like 100 years later that we went down and found it.
Germany knew
Yeah,
what was going on. They said, hey, if because Germany doesn't want this all to happen.
no,
Germany took out ads in 50 newspapers in the US urging people not get on the Lusitania. Don't get on the ship. It's about to be shot down.
yeah,
Don't get on it. 49 out of 50 of those newspapers blocked the article from getting published. Who was funding those newspapers? JP Morgan,
of course.
right? And then Churchill said, hey, Lusitania's gonna come through. Things are getting heated around here.
Yeah,
I'm gonna give my ship, which is called the Juno, protection. We're gonna give a little protection to Lusitania. Lusitania comes up. It's gonna meet the Juno right here. They're gonna kind of happily get through the
yeah,
troubled
together.
waters together and make sure everyone's safe. Juno's not there. Churchill pulled it back. Didn't tell the captain. Captain shows up and it's like, holy shit, I'm on my own here. I'm in troubled waters. My
And you would
protection's
think
not there.
that he would speed through those waters as quick as possible.
But he couldn't.
He's going off quarter engines.
He couldn't. And then, hold on one second, because I lost my spot. What did we talk about before? JP Morgan.
Yeah.
JP Morgan had just started an international shipping company. His competitor, Lusitania. It's a, it's a competing
Wow.
ship to his.
Yeah.
So, again, that's all probably coincidence, right?
Yeah.
So, what happens when this happens? Germany shoots it down.
Yeah.
1,000 people dead.
Yeah.
100 Americans.
Yeah.
U.S. is like, if you're gonna start killing Americans,
We're in.
we're in.
Yeah.
Public gets riled up.
Yeah.
Enters the war. Once we enter wartime,
Start making war bonds.
we England at this time in the war, England is like just completely getting their ass kicked.
Yeah.
Right? They're about to lose the war. That's why the conspiracy theory says that Churchill wanted the U.S. in to give them
Yeah.
some help. So during wartime, we weren't allowed to just like loan England money because then
Yeah.
like we're involved in war.
Yeah.
So
Which is very
now we're in the
different.
war.
Yeah.
That opens that door back up. So we can loan England billions of dollars. The next day, we loaned England billions of dollars.
Yeah.
Who funded those loans?
JP Morgan.
JP Morgan. What happens? England's losing the war.
Yeah.
They can't pay.
Yeah.
So the Federal Reserve prints money out of nowhere to give to JP Morgan to fund all of that stuff. So JP Morgan, so maybe that was all just coincidence. But someone came out on top,
Yeah.
and it was JP Morgan, and it wasn't the millions of people in trenches during World War One fighting over literally no one knows what World War One's about.
Well, they even gave like half the people like these bonds that then, they would repay for more. But again, the same thing happens where it's like you give the people these bonds that
War
are going to
bonds,
mature in 20 years. By the time those bonds mature, because of inflation, they're worth
worthless.
pennies on the dollar.
So
So
would
it's
you say
like,
conspiracy theory, or are those facts adding up to
yes. And
something
if
a
and then
little?
if people like don't
It's
even
crazy.
want the bonds, then the Federal Reserve or some bank just buys up all the bonds, and then the government just guarantees their full price, and then all of a
The,
sudden it's like they print it and they give it to them, and then it's like,
it's like, but like, I don't want to be a conspiracy theorist. I don't want all this to be true, but like, what else? What else are you supposed to think after reading, like, listening to all of that?
It is insane. What's even more insane is I have to pee again. I don't know if it's the wine, the coffee, the amount of coffee grinds that I
I
just
usually have to
consumed.
pee more, which
Dude,
is
I gotta pee
crazy.
so bad.
All
I
right,
gotta
go
go.
pee.
And then we gotta wrap up.
All right. I think we're actually in a good spot for that. I think so. That's World War One. I mean, just for my own personal, like I was always confused what World War One was about and why we all just accept that we needed millions of people to die for Franz Ferdinand, the Archduke of Serbia, got shot. Our own president of the United States literally got shot in the ear, and no one cares. Why? Because the roof was slanted or something. And it like we it makes just doesn't make sense to me. I think as we're hitting the 2 hour mark here, I'm really gonna want to get into a few more examples of that. World War II, Civil War, those are gonna be a lot quicker. Um, I thought Civil War was pure. I really did. World War II, I thought was pure too. And, some of these facts, it just doesn't add up good. And then, yeah, I think we could probably tie a bow on this and just say, what are next steps? What do you do with this information? You know, do you accept it? You just eat the steak and accept your role in the Matrix and kind of do nothing and just continue earning money that's meaningless and worthless in a few years because some smart people at banks came up with this a while ago and we all live in this weird socialist communist world, or like do you do something else? And that's I think the last point that we really need to get into here.
Yeah, it is
I like that. So like again, I didn't know a lot about World War One. That was shocking to me to read all of that.
yeah, I thought it
I mean,
really
there's a reasonable explanation for all of it. Sorry to interrupt,
no, it
but like it's not looking good.
no.
Like that's a tough hole to dig out of if you're going to be reasonably explaining,
Yeah.
your way out
It's
of it.
that same question of like, is it opportunity or is it deliberate
Mm.
conspiracy
It like how
planning?
it's hard to. So let's go to World War II, which is quicker.
Yeah,
World War II. Again, U.S. not involved.
yeah.
England, England losing the war,
And
getting
what?
their butts kicked. The French just rolled over.
Oh yeah,
Germany came right through. England putting up a fight.
yeah,
Germany's winning. The English and the French need the U.S. involved
yeah,
in order to win. They need a good reason to do it.
yeah.
So, what's going on in the world at the time? The U.S., and I think England too, is funding Germany's war industry. So they're funding these companies that they're fighting against.
Yeah.
Now, what's the big one that we know?
JP Morgan.
IG IG Farben.
Yeah,
If you remember from Annie Jacobson, no, Operation Paperclip.
yeah.
What was IG Farben doing during World War II? They literally the pharmaceutical company that was doing human trials and running concentration camps on Jewish people
Yeah,
to do the tests they were making tabbing gas.
yeah,
They were doing the freezing the people tests,
yeah,
all the crazy altitude tests and stuff like that,
yeah.
killing people, murdering people. Who's funding that company? The US and England.
That's crazy.
We we enter the war because we say bad things are happening, we need to enter the war. We got all the support for that one based on what Germany's doing in these concentration camps. We start bombing Germany. US is in charge of like, knowing like, hey, where we're bombing. IG Farben and these other companies, IG Farben is just one example, spared from the bombing. Like, so only the US would know how to spare these places from getting bombed.
Yeah,
So we bomb it. Who's the people funding? Rockefeller, Forbes,
JP Morgan.
JP Morgan, and Kuhn Laub and Co., who's like a Jewish investment firm in the US.
Okay.
They're funding the company running concentration camps in Germany. This is how dark it gets.
Yeah.
Like it's not made up. Like this is literally who is funding these things. So we, and again, it's then the same story.
Do
We
they
go in
know? But again, it's the same conspiracy. It's like, do they know that they're funding those concentration camps, or do they think that they're just giving money to Germany as a loan?
at best, they are funding industry in Germany,
Yeah.
a country we are actively at war with, for doing concentration camp type activities
Yeah.
with Jewish people.
But
Like that's
that's
a best case scenario for those for that.
but
I
I think
think
that's always the case with every war now is they give it like some social issue that we have a problem
that's
with.
how we get
Every war.
the backing in, let's say with
Yes.
World War One,
Yeah.
we need a reason to get in.
Yeah.
Whether it's
And it's
Vietnam, we need
never,
it's a false
yeah,
flag. That's the
yes.
whole
And
false
it's
flag thing.
never about some social issue. It's,
Just wait till we get the Civil War.
yeah,
So, and again, World War Two, wrap it up quickly. Same thing happens. Bomb the crap out of Germany,
yeah,
completely ruin them. They
yeah.
can't pay back their loans. We create money, give it money to them. They can pay JP Morgan back. Everyone's happy. Same exact story.
We also take half their most successful businesses and like Bayer and bring them here and
All the
decide,
scientists.
yeah,
So, great moment for the book club history this week. So, got a text in a group about Lyme disease. And I
nice.
was like, and it was like, do you guys know like Lyme was made in a lab? And I gave the whole history of how we brought Nazi scientists
Yeah,
over. They started Plum Island,
yeah,
right at the shores of Connecticut.
yeah,
Their purpose was to find a way to extinct whole animal populations, to starve entire countries. The thing got out and then got shut down, and the island is still restricted.
yeah,
And I was like, literally, I was so happy the whole day that I even was able to know that information
yeah,
from Annie Jacobson herself. So that's World War II.
yeah.
Civil War. Civil War, guys. Civil War
Like we know
is
about that.
pure.
Yeah.
There's nothing can be wrong. It was for the best intentions ever. And I've never even heard this stuff before. Like
So
some of the, even World War II, I hadn't really heard.
we'd heard that about in one of the books it talked about Abraham Lincoln. It might have been the real history of the United States.
Honest Abe.
Yeah, that it was about like one section he kind of talks about like he's pretty much giving like the real reasons behind things and like for most of the book it was like there wasn't like brand new information. It was like the George Washington thing where it was like he didn't actually have an apple tree. He didn't
Yeah.
actually have like wooden teeth. Like his teeth were actually like I think the bottom row were like lead and then like the top row of teeth were like actually from slaves, which is like pretty insane, but whatever. It was like a bunch of stuff like that that some people even know about now. And but then he goes to Abe Lincoln and he kind of talks about how like Abe Lincoln has this reputation as like he freed the slaves and he fought for the slaves and all this stuff. But in the book he kind of talks about how he was just like the same like shitty politician that only cared about himself and like staying in power. So like the whole like free the slaves thing for Abe Lincoln wasn't actually about like human rights and like a good moral decision. It was literally for him it was just about like this is my best chance of like staying in power and winning the
Mhm.
war and it was literally just a political decision. And then in this he doubles down on that.
Yeah, I forgot about that from People's History because I
Yeah, because
hated that book so much.
it was terrible. But he does say that in this as well, pretty much, right? Something about, I think I wrote it down, something about how the North really, like, their main interest wasn't actually freeing the slaves. It was more about, like, disagreements in, like, a World Bank and, like, some, like, political things having to do with, like, banking more than it had to do with, like, the slaves. And the slaves just became, like, a political tool in order for them to then fight with the North and then revolt against the South. Like, it just became, like, a chess piece, but it actually didn't have that much to do with the Civil War.
Spot on. And again, we're just recapping things that we read in a book,
Yeah,
right?
could be right,
This is
could be
not our
wrong.
own
Yeah.
views here.
Like if you want to sue someone, sue that book.
Sue that book. But if you're listening, G. Edward Griffin, we don't want to sue you. We want you on the
Yeah.
podcast. No, so Civil War. There's a leading up to the Civil War, North and South living in harmony. Everyone's cool.
Yeah.
The North is buying commodities from the South, cotton and
Of
other
course.
things,
Yeah.
to manufacture into goods. The South is buying those goods from the North that get manufactured. There's like a good cohesion,
Yeah.
coexistence, like, up and down trade. The South starts to realize that I can buy these same goods from Europe for cheaper than I can buy from the North in my own country. So they start buying these goods from Europe,
Wow.
England, France, England. So the North gets pissed.
Yeah.
They say, you can't do that anymore. The government blocks the South from buying these things from Europe. Now Europe's pissed. No one's happy. Abraham Lincoln is president at the time. The only thing he cared about, according to this book, is keeping the Union together. He's
Yeah.
like, I don't care what happens really, as long as we're still one country. I don't want
Yeah.
to split up into multiple countries.
Yeah.
So they enter war over this. And the North doesn't really give a crap about the war at all. Like this, again, as you said, it's not a humanitarian effort to free the slaves. Like it wasn't even about that.
No.
They couldn't get people to sign up.
It was just like one of the differences
Right.
that they had.
England and France have an interest in this war because they were doing trade with the South and now they're not anymore.
Yeah.
They want the South to win.
Yeah.
So they start positioning, I didn't know this,
I don't know this too.
themselves around the South to enter the war. And Lincoln's like, if I need to um, keep this union together, I need to think of something and act fast. He makes it a humanitarian war by bringing slavery into the mix.
Yeah.
So now it's like, hey, we're the pro slave the pro freeing the slave side
Yeah.
here. So what that does is he tries to rile up the North to get them to join. It doesn't really work,
Yeah.
so he has to like end up paying people to join,
Yeah.
but it blocks England and France from backing the South because
Because then it's like a humanitarian.
you can't join a war on the pro-slavery side.
Yeah.
So they have to back out.
Had already gotten rid of the slavery at that point?
Not yet.
They hadn't?
No. So this is all during the war.
Wow.
This is because the North is losing the war.
Yeah.
They're getting their butts kicked.
Yeah.
Then England and whatever can't back them up. North ends up winning, and then in the middle of it, or maybe towards the end, he freed the slaves, the Emancipation Proclamation, which supposedly was very unconstitutional, but
Yeah.
he did it anyway. And like early in Lincoln's speeches, if you read them,
Yeah.
and was giving quotes, he has like all this white supremacist stuff in
Oh,
there.
really?
He's like, if
Oh, that was in Howard's End too, where it's like he started very much like
yeah, he
anti.
flip-flopped
Yes,
during his campaign, he was losing. He like flipped um political parties.
I do
So like he
remember
was just
that.
trying to
He
like get
like,
to the top.
yeah, Howard's End like called him like a flip-flop politician,
Yeah.
like everyone else.
So again, same thing happens.
Yeah.
All the money moving around.
Yeah.
And again, like that's
And never about the people. Never about the
people
people.
are
And
always
that's
worse off. People like millions of people are dying.
yeah,
Uh,
those are the wars now. It's like I don't, it's funny too because like they do less of it now like with the Iran war. There's certainly less of it now of being like um we're doing this because like women can't drive there. It's like they don't even attempt to
it's
do that anymore,
it's again, it's fake social
but they do
programs
like put that into the media a lot. It's
that
like
make it sound good
yeah,
as a way to start creating more money and
yes.
spreading it around.
And it's like have you ever talked to a person from Iran?
Never once.
Me neither. So it's just like, how would we have any idea what it's like in Iran on a day-to-day basis? Like,
Yep.
the only thing we know about people in Iran is what our media, which is essentially our government, tells us about the people in Iran. Like, right now, they're
Exactly.
telling us the people in Iran are very unhappy with the Iran
World
regime.
War
It's like, have
One,
you asked anybody in Iran about
JP
that?
Morgan was paying all the newspapers. You don't
Yeah.
think people are all still doing things like that? Like,
Oh, yeah.
paying off
That
the
is like,
news and
yeah, the news now is just
it's a
utterly
yeah.
despicable.
I mean, he goes in the whole like Bolshevik revolution in Moscow, which is like a
Yeah.
huge deal, which I'm not even gonna get into because there's more of the same,
Yeah,
and we're tight on time. Um, Great Depression,
I have some notes on
same
that.
deal. It just
Yeah,
essentially came after World War One. All of these big wigs knew it was coming because inflation was so bad after all of the money that was spent during World War One,
yeah,
and again, if stock as the stocks went down, if the government didn't intervene, everyone would have been fine because the stocks would have eventually like kind of picked back up because you're backed by a business
Yeah.
and things will happen, you'll earn money again.
That I thought was
But they
interesting.
poured
I had
more
never
money,
heard that.
they
Yeah.
poured more money in.
Which
They printed
caused
more money,
massive
caused more
inflation.
inflation.
Yeah.
So then the runs on the banks became worse and worse, and they couldn't pay because they don't actually have money at the banks,
Yeah.
and it just became this huge thing.
That was, yeah, I
And
had that too.
all the
Stock.
bigwigs knew about it in advance. They were in
They
cash at
got
the
their money
time,
out.
got their money out of the market, and then bought everything
Yeah.
once everything crashed.
That told foreign investors to get out before it happened. Insiders also got out, like the Nancy Pelosi's of the world. They started buying once it went literally close to zero because they were the only ones who still had money. Everyone else didn't have any money left to even buy anything. And he said like some of the greatest fortunes were actually made from those investments.
Yep.
And it's like it kind of goes to our theory too that like a lot of these like old family money type things, they're like if you trace it back, it almost all goes back to something like incredibly dark. And it's like even this, it's like, oh, like how did your family make their billions? It's like, well, like my great granddad was a politician during the Great Depression and he knew it was coming, so pulled out all of his
Hmm.
money and then once it happened, he then reinvested all of his money back into it and turned his $50,000 government salary into $500 billion, you know, and
It's like, okay.
it's like, oh, that's a little bit questionable.
Yeah, so I was
And
hoping
that's like
for like,
best case. That's like best case scenario. The rest of them, like the Sacklers and the, like they're
hmm
much darker than that.
yeah. And just to tie a bow on all this, the whole thing behind it, again, is the Fabians trying to secretly implement socialism into the world. So you start to implement these social programs like welfare, and it just becomes a way to buy votes because you can't take that away
Yeah.
because now people's free stuff is gone and they're going to start to freak out. So like you'll be super unpopular as a politician when that happens.
And that's
So what does that do? It increases the power of the public sector, the government, and starts to decrease slowly and slowly and slowly the private sector. So it
mhm.
becomes harder and harder to start a business. It becomes harder and harder to earn real money and get a loan and earn money and pay
Yeah.
it back honestly. And
More and more government control, which is where we're headed
yep,
now, because it's like even when you hear it with the AI now, it's like the biggest conversation with AI now is like people don't need to have the jobs that they have anymore. Like we can just have AI do your jobs. So like it kind of really leads to like, a future society in which like government runs everything, which is like you said, the goal of these people, which is essentially communism. Like we're very weirdly headed there, just very
it's
quietly without calling it
I
communism.
think most shocking thing about this was that I think we're already there.
We are. Like he
It's
goes like by 2008 and like this book again, like whether it's 10 years old or
mm,
30 years old, like it's amazing like where we like what he's talking about one is already absolutely happening like in terms of inflation and all this stuff, but he even says like the cure for all this is less government, not more government. And he says by 2008, there's more bank regulators than bankers.
yeah,
There's more welfare workers than people
income
receiving
taxpayers.
welfare, even people receiving it.
Oh,
Like,
I
yeah,
see.
so
Yeah.
it's like these government
More
programs.
and more people on welfare than
Yes,
people who pay an income
yes.
tax.
There's right now, there's probably more people being paid by the government to deal with the homelessness issue than there is actual homeless
Yes, yes,
people.
yes.
It's like these government programs are just like the most flawed, money grabbing things ever, where it's like a lot of times it's like he talks about the welfare state of New York that like New York City eventually in like the 1970s had like more people on welfare than like, the taxes that it was able to bring in, and it just puts them at a loss and they're not able to like, have a society essentially that makes money, but it's like as big of an issue as it is the amount of people on welfare and all this stuff. And he talks about it a little bit in the book where he says like, everybody's been in line in like a supermarket, and I recently was at Costco and saw someone give like an EBT card
Uh,
And it's like you look at what's in their card, and it's like kind of the same things that are maybe in your card a little bit. That it's just like it was like
They're
they had
driving the same car as
clothes.
you. They
Yes,
live in the same building as
yes,
you.
they had like clothes in there. Then they had like Oreos in there, and then they had something else, and it's just kind of like none of it seemed like good purchases.
Right.
But regardless, like even with that, where it's like they're doing a horrible job regulating like these people, and then in addition to that, it's like not only are you doing a horrible job, the government, in regulating it, you're also doing a horrible job of like hiring more and more people to deal with it, and it just becomes like you're bleeding on both ends now.
I think that's the conspiracy theory, where it's like the argument is probably it's essentially on purpose that it's
Yeah,
that bad. Because
yeah.
like again,
Like
we
the
talked about
halt
it.
list has been like
If
more
you
in the
solve
recent thing.
homelessness,
Yes, you're out of a job.
you're out of a job.
And if you solve welfare, then you're out of a job because you don't
If
need.
you're a welfare
Yeah,
worker, or if, so essentially the debate becomes instead of, oh, is 10%, 20, 30, 40% to tax me, is that what's fair? In reality, what they're actually doing is 90, 95, 98%
yeah,
of your wealth is getting taken from you. And a lot of that you're not signing up for. And we didn't even talk about this. They're doing it in a way where this money's made up and you're legally required to just follow along.
yeah,
So they call it the legal tender when you have
yeah,
fiat money, which is just made up and not backed by anything.
yeah.
Where if you were running a business and you're like, I don't accept dollars, I only accept airplane
Bitcoin.
tickets,
Yeah,
like you can go to jail.
literally,
They
yeah.
could, they
Treason.
literally, there are laws to protect this system so that you have to kind of stick and stay in it.
That was crazy.
And you don't
Plus, like,
sign up to give all of your wealth to the government to do whatever they want with it, whether you agree with these social programs or not, or you think they're working.
yeah.
You're not agreeing to it, and they're taking it from you secretly.
No, that was crazy. He's like talks about like the use of the words like legal tender.
Hmm.
And that how nobody actually realizes what that actually means. And what it
Yeah.
actually means is if you don't accept legal tender, then you're
Yeah.
literally treasonous to the country and you could spend the rest of your life in jail or you could spend like get fined and all this stuff. And it's like that's crazy. Like that it's like they're telling you what money and that again, like we keep going with Bitcoin and all this stuff, like it doesn't make sense to me why they're even allowing it
It's the same. I actually don't
unless
know.
they're profiting off of it. Which again, we'll
Yeah.
probably find out.
I think they have, yeah, they can't make it too obvious. They're
Yeah,
smart. They know how to play the game.
yeah.
They've been doing it.
Like there's almost zero chance that the government and the politicians aren't profiting off of crypto,
Well, they're not
or else they just wouldn't allow it.
they're not gonna allow some decentralized way
Yeah,
of doing money where
because
all
they'd
the
be
stuff we
too
talked about
afraid.
just gets
Yeah,
unraveled in 1 second.
yes.
Like they're gonna
So
protect it.
we'll probably
Um,
find that out. Maybe in like 20 years we'll be doing a book club episode and
the history of crypto
the history of
and why
crypto.
we went to war with Zimbabwe to protect our crypto reserves.
Turns
Um,
out it actually was all fake money as well, started by the US government.
yeah, yes.
Probably.
I mean, that's about as dark as it gets.
It's a really dark book, and I think
It's in
that's
light. It's like, and again, it's the question becomes like, what do you do with that information? Like, do you just kind of keep living and enjoying your life? Do you try to
yeah.
break out of the system? Like, I honestly don't know.
He doesn't really have a great fix
There's
for it. Yeah. And he tries. Like I did respect that in the book. He talks about like, what we can do as people and he's kind of just like his main things are essentially just like we want less government, not more government.
stay out of that.
Yeah, stay out of debt and also like don't ever like feel like the government has to be the ones to save you, which I think is like worst case scenario that he talks about at the end, where he's kind of just like worst case scenario in all of this is like inflation keeps ramping up and ramping up and ramping up to the point that instead of my steaks being $65, they're like
If your stakes get
three
to
hundred sixty-five
more than
dollars
65, I'm gonna be upset.
Yeah, and it's just like then all of a sudden it's like you have all these middle class people that can't afford to live, and then you start going back to being like government help me, government give me like like money so I can buy
Yeah,
stuff, and it's like you
that's
said that's like
the
worst
point.
case scenario is
Yeah,
like when you start being dependent on the government to survive, and I don't know, I mean it feels like we're headed there now with like just the price of like a house now anywhere. It's like nobody has that money
The
in
average
their bank.
age of a home buyer is a million times higher than it used to be.
Yes.
People's money doesn't go as far as it used to be.
Yeah.
Everyone's worse off monetarily than they
Yeah.
were 20 years ago,
When it's like,
50 years ago, when you
yeah,
could be a barber and work 4 days a week and have a house and two cars and kids and your
yes,
wife stayed at home.
yes,
And now it's
nothing.
you're nowhere near that and you have to work more and more. You have to get two
You
jobs.
could make a
And your wife has to get
hundred,
two jobs.
yes, you could make a
And you
hundred
only
K
have one
now.
kid instead of seven.
Yes, yeah, you could make 100K now and feel like, oh, I make good money, and even be good with your money. And it's like the amount of years that it would take you for you to save up to buy a house now, it's like 40 years.
It would take you a few decades
Yeah,
because
like with the amount. So
you
let's say
get
you make
real
a hundred
taxed
K. Yes,
30%. Now you're
yes,
at 70. You got
yes,
to pay your rent and
yes.
all this
Which
stuff.
also rent now
Maybe you
has
can
gone
save
up.
10K a year the
Yeah,
most. Yeah,
rent is now 2K. So it's like you take all
at
that out.
best.
My stakes are now, even if,
If you're trying to get even just one steak a week, it's gonna
yes.
put you in the red.
So it's like, yeah, I mean, all right, so best case scenario of that 100K, you can put 40K in the bank, 40, 80, 120, 160, 200. So that's 5 years. So then 400, that's 10 years. Then 20 years for 800, which is about the cost probably of literally
If
your
you were to buy
almost,
your whole house, yeah.
yeah, average house up front. So it would take
Man,
you
I
20 years.
I feel like this. I wish this information was on a different podcast because this information needs to get out. It needs a podcast with viewers.
It needs to
Like
and people that
it's
actually
just
know what
so
they're talking about.
important, right?
People that
That
aren't
anything wrong.
people that aren't adding 20K on their fingers and then coming up with rough
Yeah,
estimates for how long it takes
but
for
it's
you to
just
buy.
like if everyone knew this, then maybe something could happen to improve it. But the fact that most people are just completely blind to it,
It's just too big. It's the
it's too
opposite of,
complex.
yeah,
It's too big.
it's the opposite of the banks, where the banks are like they're too big to fail now because they're supported by the US government, but really it has nothing to do with them being too big. It's the opposite with us, where like the government now is too big
To
to
compete with.
fail. Yeah.
I mean, as a book, for me, and I only would ever give it a 5 star if you were fully on
I
board
am
because
on
it's
board, yeah.
we haven't given a 5 star in a long time.
Yeah.
I can't even remember.
I do
But I
think
think
this is a 5 star book. It's
in
just
terms of like like everything, it hits every single tick
I
box
agree.
that you might give to a 5 star. Um,
No, I agree. I'm fully on board with giving this a 5 star, adding it to our 5 star book collection. I think it deserves to be there and it meets the criteria of what
like
we look for.
I still want to go back and reread chapters because
Same.
I'm like so like
Yeah.
you know.
Different than everything else we've ever read. It
So
is shocking that if this isn't true, that this guy's
yeah,
one
a
still
lie. Yeah,
alive,
yeah,
yeah,
like
and two hasn't just been sued
right.
into
Like what parts?
oblivion.
I would love to know. Like, all right, so what parts aren't true? Like, what?
Yeah.
Then you can have a real debate.
So it really is like, yeah, it's different. It's
Man,
also like I think true in some of the other books that we've read this year, and that like the vaccine stuff. It's like not a book that you want to read, especially like
hmm
for me, like, I've gotten a lot of vaccines,
you don't want to
like I
know
don't want to know that these
what's wrong with
vaccines
it.
are killing me.
And this was similar almost in a way where when you read Turtles All the Way Down and it's
Yeah,
like so all encompassing,
yeah,
it's 5 star. And then if you read like another vaccine book, just because you know so much, it has less impact.
I
Like if we
agree.
read another banking book,
Yes, which there are a
which I
bunch.
almost want to because now I'm
Yeah,
so interested,
yeah,
it won't be the same
I
because
agree.
now we know everything we need to know. Or like you at least have the background. It's less
Yes,
of a shock factor.
yes, and
So like
this was like
this
this
was
was
a
a big
good
shock
first
factor.
one.
Yeah,
I'm glad it was our first money one and we didn't like kind of like spoil it with some other like lesser book.
yeah. And I kind of knew nothing about this. Like I really like you'd
I
heard of the
thought
Federal
I
Reserve, and
knew some stuff, but like,
but yeah,
god damn.
like
Uh,
even just yeah.
is
uh,
there, can we, how do we end on a happy note?
It's gonna be 72 degrees on Wednesday.
72 degrees. We're about to pick two new books. So
Yeah,
check out, the books will be in the description on Spotify.
yeah.
We know you're checking.
Kev was talking about a fan vote for the next one.
Kev wants a fan vote, which I really like a lot. If you're a fan, let us know.
Yeah.
Because if we have two
Let us know
fans,
that you're
it's
out
hard to
there.
have a vote 'cause it might be a tie. But if we have
Yeah,
three, then we
we're
have a
all for it.
tiebreaker.
Yeah,
We need to know the exact numbers here.
yeah.
So leave a comment if if you're a fan. And
And then yeah, we'll go from there.
yeah, we'll let you know what the books are. I think
I
We'll
think
see what
it.
happens next time.
We
These are
honest.
awesome. Like, I mean, this book is why the book club is so great.
Yeah,
This book is
I agree.
why I'm so happy. Like, why we're here.
You can't read a book like this if you're not in a book club because you're gonna need to talk to
Yeah.
someone about it.
If when I don't have the book club for like a couple weeks, I
Yeah,
start to like get really antsy and
Good-
start like talking to everyone,
me
and that's the
too. Yeah,
last thing I
yeah.
need to be doing.
Same. I know that it's bad when I start just kind of talking to random people about like the banking system.
Like
A murder that
in the
happened in
grocery store.
1949.
Yeah. All right.
But peace.
Let's wrap it up. Bye, everybody.